Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. Had a good, peaceful, positive weekend. It was a beautiful day out. It was sunny, but damn, it was freezing. Freezing cold. But it ain't the worst. I think, Dre, up in that area, you're down to single digits, probably, I think. There's going to be some crazy weather the next week or so. Freezing. What's up, everybody in chat? Dre, how you doing? Oh, look at that. You even got the coffee cup. Love it. Pam? Good evening. Allison Faye, hope you're doing good. Hopefully, everything's better on that side. Kib Kitty. Oh, now where's your kitty picture at? Good to see you too. Yes, burr is the word, not grease. Burr. All right, we'll turn this music down. I didn't know what I was going to do with tonight's show. I was like, do I do a Stephen Smith deep dive? Do I talk about Delphi? Do I cover some Idaho 4? So I started looking back through my past, other than last weekend, the last month or so. I've noticed I started a trend of doing specific topics Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then have an open panel Thursday and Friday, minus the bonus shows Saturday night and Sunday. So I was like, you know what? I think I'll stick to that. You know, unless we have something special on a Saturday night we're going to cover. So I'm thinking maybe keep the specific topics to Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So we're going to be digging into more of the Stephen Smith mysterious death and cover-up. And I say cover-up. A lot of other people don't, but I do, because to me it's obvious it was a cover-up. So I don't mind calling bullshit. So, I got some things that we can look up for, like, we're going to be doing, we got 3 shows coming up starting tomorrow night. First show, tomorrow night for Stephen Smith, we're going to be covering the pathologist, the coroner backgrounds. We're going to see if we can find an incident report, an autopsy report, any police interviews or pressers, and evidence analysis. So we're going to be doing that in one show. That'll be tomorrow night. And then Monday night and Tuesday night, we'll be digging into the other theories besides Buster. We got 2 different theories. We got one from Ben. Well, I guess it's with all of these people because it's a collective from Ben, Michael, Victoria, Colby, and Buster. So that'll be one theory. And then the other theory is with, well, you got the Xavier theory. You got the Mark theory with the guy with the tattoo. You know, Mark and then a guy with the tattoo. Then you got, what was his name? Daryl, the Daryl theory, where his son Patrick. Another theory there. Sorry, I'm just looking over all my notes here. A lot of stuff. But we got Mark we can dig into. So what I'll probably do is we got a couple theories and we might split up and cover one and another one in one night. So we're going to be digging into this Stephen Smith some more, this case. Tomorrow night, Monday night, Tuesday night. Tomorrow night, we're going into the pathologist coroner backgrounds, incident report, autopsy, evidence, and interviews. And this is what I was kind of wondering when we started covering this case with the deep dives is I'm wondering if these pathologists and coroners have been in any kind of if they've been in other court cases or were involved in any other suspicious rulings like we came across in Stephen Smith. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't the only one. So we can dig into that stuff. We'll be getting into the Gannon case. We'll need to get the affidavit, security cam footage, surveillance, whatever you want to call it. Gonna reach out to Suzanne and see how the hate crime bill's going, when the Senate meeting is. And speaking of, I'm gonna go ahead and share that real quick since we are talking about it. 70s, nice. Let's see how many signatures we got. All right, now we are up to 3,215. So please sign that. If you live in South Carolina, please contact your local senators. Oh, sorry, 1 second. I forgot YouTube cuts it off. I have to get rid of the HTTPS. Or HTTP. There we go. If you don't mind signing that real quick, since we brought it up. So there's a bunch of stuff. We got Idaho we got Gannon Stouch, we got all sorts of different stuff. So we'll go ahead and tap into it tonight. And maybe we'll do a little bit of searching on some of these things anyway for these upcoming shows. But really, it's up to you, whatever you want to talk about as well. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the link to the panel. If anybody would like to hop up, you're more than welcome. If there's any specific case you'd like to talk about, feel free. Just let me know, and we'll go ahead and see what we got in the case folder. There is the link. And let me check the phone line. If you feel more comfortable calling, you're more than welcome. We just can't screen share anything. All right, phone line is working. Do a quick check of the breaking. This is a good question that's been going around the news here the last day or so, is what happens if Trump is charged and arrested. I don't even know what's going on with that. I heard something about he expects to be arrested or something. Whatever that is. Maggie Murdaugh. We got different stuff. All right. Hit the refresh and we'll go right into it. Anybody's more than welcome to join. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate that. And if any of them would like to hop in the show as well, if they might even have some great ideas too. If Trump gets arrested at stage, these people don't go to jail. Yeah, I don't even know what it's about. I just seen a bunch of stuff going around. I'm like, what the heck? All right, so we will switch to the case folder. And then I've been hearing like stuff with Jimmy Kimmel and Jeffrey Epstein and stuff, and it's like, what the heck is going on? So much stuff out there. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump into the folder. We will be talking about Stephen Smith. And I appreciate you sharing all that stuff, Pam. We're going to be going into Stephen Smith's case tomorrow night, Monday night, and Tuesday night. Tomorrow morning, afternoon, I probably will go live. But I'm going to wait until the morning to put out a notification just in case, because there is some other work I do need to do when it comes to this research and stuff. But if I don't have to do too much in the morning, then I'm going to go ahead and do a live. And I'm thinking about doing a Delphi. So if you know anything about Delphi and you would like to hop in and you're not busy tomorrow afternoon, feel free as well. But as always, I'll put out a notification. Paying off the stripper. What? What, Pam? Oh, for Trump. Okay. Oh, what do they say? Hush money or something? Something like that. Huh. Well, we can go to that. I'm studying up on Delphi. Stormy Daniels. Yeah, I'm thinking about, because there's some new stuff. I haven't covered Delphi for a while. We went through The last time we really covered it, we went through an interview with one of the old cellmates, Keegan Klein, and then he had another video interview he came out with a couple weeks ago, and I've just kind of been keeping it on the burner with some other stuff, and I've been wanting to talk about it lately, but just been so, there's so much coverage on other stuff, so I'm like, I even thought about doing a show about Delphi tonight as well, but I think I might get a few more things together than what I have at Delphi, and maybe do a show in the afternoon. I definitely need to do a show on it. I really do. But I got to get the research for Stephen Smith's stuff done first. I still need to find an incident report, autopsy, and any of the stuff on past cases. But I figure half of it'll be on pathologist coroner and the other half will be on incident report, autopsy, and pressers and evidence analysis is what I'm thinking for tomorrow night. So, but I do want to check out this. This is from True Crime Design. I always love showing other channels on here. Not only I get a lot of great information and new channels from you guys, but I like putting some out there as well. And it's awesome. I love it. I love showcasing and checking out any of these other channels, even things that I come across. So yeah, I'll let you guys know. We'll see. I'm thinking Delphi tomorrow afternoon. All right, so let's go. True Crime Design. And as always, anybody's more than welcome to hop up on open panel or call. And if there's any topic you'd like to discuss, just let me know. True Crime Design. Here's the link in chat. And we'll check out this video. Now, this is their video. They got some good Idaho 4 stuff, too. This is their video on the suspicious death of Stephen Smith. So I'd like to see what they have to say. Thank you, everybody, for hopping in.
Isn't hiding it, is very proud of who he is. You're talking about a small southern town.
It's taboo.
It's taboo.
Especially back then.
And he's wearing it proud. And somebody didn't like it. It clearly had to have been related to his sexuality, don't you believe, Mike?
100%. 100%.
I don't feel like it's a hit and run. I've looked at the body itself.
You know, a lot of people seem a little nervous to say the name Murdoch.
And I apologize.
Hampton County 911, where's your emergency?
I'm going to pause this real quick. I apologize if all this stuff we've already heard on the shows that I've done already. I just kind of wanted to see True Crime Design. I appreciate their channel. And I just kind of wanted to see maybe they might have some new information we haven't heard about.
We know that he was found at 4 o'clock in the morning on Sandy Run Road in Hampton. He was about a mile from his car. He had died of horrific blunt force trauma to his head. His skull was fractured. His wallet was in his car. He had his cell phone, and he was not that far from his father's house where he lived.
A special accident investigative team looked at the case and determined it was a homicide, but a pathologist disagreed, saying he likely died from a mirror of a passing car hitting Stephen's face.
A heated discussion between Trooper Todd Proctor and pathologist Dr. Aaron Presnell revealed that the death was ruled this way because Smith was found in the road. Blue paint chips are found on Smith's clothes but cannot be traced to a specific make or model.
It definitely was not a hit and run. He had blunt force trauma, and it seemed to be an intentional act, which we consider homicide.
Eric Bland, an attorney involved in several cases connected to Alec Murdaugh's numerous cases, knows Stephen Smith's mom, Sandy.
So we think he was dumped there on the road. Was a very sharp kid as a young man. He was cautious, and so he wouldn't have been walking down the road. He certainly knew the area. He had a cell phone, could have called somebody for help.
I've prosecuted cases of people having been hit by cars. This is not the scene of a hit and run. There was no debris on
There
the
was
road.
no debris, lower extremities, nothing was broken, and his loosely tied sneakers were still on
Yeah,
him, on his feet.
Yes.
They would have been blown off.
I haven't seen that interview. I need to see if I have that. I don't remember seeing that interview. Does anybody know where that interview is? Because I have a different interview with detectives, but that's just the Murdaugh case. That's not... Yeah, I'm not seeing that one. Yeah, if anybody knows which one it was, it's let's see, whoever these people are.
This is not the scene of a hit and run.
If you can find this interview here, I would love to be able to watch that with everybody, the full thing. So if anybody knows, was he redressed? I do not believe he was, Pam. Now, in my opinion, I think if it was a hit and run, in my opinion, I think his shoes were put back on. Because I don't see how loosely tied shoes can stay on your feet if you're getting hit. And I'm not necessarily thinking it was a hit and run, as in with a vehicle. I think it was with an object. But there's also theories and ideas about that vacant property. Now, there's other thoughts and ideas about right there. There's other thoughts and ideas about this vacant property maybe being a place where an assault was taking place by an individual or individuals. I'm definitely exploring that thought as well. Because with a vacant house out in the middle of country, you never know. You know, we obviously can't explore the property line and see how, exactly where, we could go to satellite, I suppose. I mean, you're talking about, look at all this wooded area. So this is where that vacant property is located. Exactly, Pam. It could be that. And I believe it could be a meetup, and I definitely believe that he was placed there. I don't believe that anything took place there. I think if a hit and run did take place, because there was reports of that truck coming down here, seeing the vehicle parked there, seeing him walking, turning around and coming back up. And I think if it was a hit and run, it took place somewhere on 601. I do not believe it took place on Sandy Run Road /S-25-38. And if it was a meetup type thing, I believe it could have been on this property because, I mean, shit. Look. You got a house right here. Other than that, what's around you? Trees. So, and that just could have been an easy location to place his body. Now, what doesn't make sense about that theory is why would they put that there instead of leaving him out here? So that's one part of the theory that wouldn't make sense. But with the vacant property, with all that space, I could see that being a possible meetup location for sure. All right, yeah, if anybody knows which interview this is and you can find it, please share it to me. Let me know in chat or on the comment section.
There were no debris on the road.
Lower extremities, nothing was broken, and his loosely tied sneakers were still on his feet.
Yes.
Could have been blown off.
Yes.
If it was a hit and run.
Every time
Every hit and run case I've ever
seen
touched,
shoes blow off.
they did not have their shoes on. A hit and run is extraordinarily violent. Extraordinarily violent. He had some abrasions, but not significant.
Inconsistencies in the initial investigation have left many wondering why his death was never investigated as a homicide.
It was clear that this case was not handled correctly. Why? I can't tell you. Maybe.
Right, it was clear from the beginning. And Pam, what's up, Punksy? And Pam, the mother even stated in a prior interview that he wouldn't even, we can go back to this, he wouldn't even been she said he wouldn't even have been walking, we'll go to the walk. He wouldn't even been walking. She said he would have walked up this way. He wouldn't even been walking if his car, where it broke down, she said if he was going to be walking, he wouldn't have walked down 601 in Sandy Run. He would have cut through here and through the woods, is what she said. So with you saying that about the sister, that kind of goes with what I heard the mom was saying. Definitely suspicious.
If it was a hit and run.
Every hit and run case I've ever
Seen
touched,
shoes blow off.
they did not have their shoes on. A hit and run is extraordinarily violent. Extraordinarily violent. He had some abrasions, but not significant.
Inconsistencies in the initial investigation have left many wondering why his death was never investigated as a homicide.
It was clear that this case was not handled correctly. Why? I can't tell you. Maybe it was simply incompetence. Maybe it was purposeful. But I do believe that the truth is going to come out.
Sandy Smith was relentless in her quest for answers. She asked the FBI, the governor, and others to keep investigating, but the case went nowhere until Mallory Beach was killed on the Murdoch boat 4 years later. People started asking questions about the old Stephen Smith case. Corporal Duncan told us the Murdoch family name came up in his initial investigation, but that part of the investigation didn't go anywhere. And when asked if behind the scenes there was pressure to stop the investigation or to leave the case as a hit and run,
Personally, I think there was some type of pressure or just lack of investigation upon other agencies to do anything.
but the real break in the Smith case came after the Murdoch double murders. During that investigation, new information came to light. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division tells News Nation they've made progress in the death investigation of Stephen Smith. However, this investigation remains active and going.
Why did they reopen the investigation?
It was something they found while they were investigating Paula Maggie's death, was all I was told. But what it is, I do not know. At first, I thought maybe it was something on his phone, Paul's phone. And then rumor was going out, they found something on his computer. And then they found a baseball bat. But I have no clue what it is, but I know I'm going to know soon. Well, it was ruled by the pathologist that it was a vehicle versus pedestrian. But there was no damage anywhere. He had a dislocated right shoulder, and then all his eye socket was broke. The whole back of his head was crushed. And he had some defense wounds on him. His shoes were still on. It first came up when
It sounds like a beating.
Stephen's body was still at autopsy. And some of his friends came over, him and Stephanie's friends, and they said, it was them Murdoch boys that did this. And then I was like, and Stephanie come up to me crying, and I said, well, Steph, you can't believe everything you hear.
I want to say something too, because this picture reminded me of it, okay? This picture reminded me of this. Something I heard the mom said recently. And she said that Stephen had told her earlier in the week that he was supposed to be going on a fishing trip with somebody that weekend. She said he wouldn't say who, but that it was someone of importance. But he would not tell her who. Did not tell her who. But did tell his mom about the fishing trip that he was supposed to have that weekend with somebody important. So then that also brings up a couple theories. Could that then cause a jealous reaction from somebody else he might have been involved with? What if he was really supposed to go to Mark's house that night? Car broke down. Mark found out about this fishing trip. I don't know. I just heard a fishing trip was supposed to take place from the mother's mouth. Fishing trip was supposed to take place, but did not know who it was other than it was an important individual. So does anybody know about this fishing trip? Really? Yeah, that's fine, Kid Kitty. So on the phone calls from jail to Buster, Buster went fishing that weekend. Huh. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate that. Because I haven't listened to any of those prison calls because I didn't think it had anything to do with this case. I appreciate that. And thank you for letting me know. That's what I love about all of us. We mix our information together and we figure out the puzzle pieces. Really? Maybe that's interesting. I'm sure we'll hear the mom say it coming up. It might be in this one. We'll see. That's interesting. Thank you for letting me know, Pam. I appreciate you listening to those, and thank you for remembering that information.
And Stephanie come up to me crying, and I said, well, Steph, you know, you can't believe everything you hear. People's going to talk, you know, so. And then it was like, you know, we never thought that. But then it just kept coming over and over and over again.
Reporter Will Folks with Fit News tells us Buster's name often came up with the Smith case.
And there was clearly a Murdoch tie-in to the death of Stephen Smith, because if you read investigatory report from his death back in 2015, the Murdoch name is mentioned dozens of times. In fact, this was one of the first files I ever received related to this story.
The oldest Murdoch son, Buster, was the same age as Stephen and his twin sister. Being from a small town, they all went to school together and everyone knew one another. As the multiple Murdoch cases have played out in the small Carolina community, rumors have swirled. After the news of Stephen's death came, Stephen had some sort of relationship. The Smith family attorney says this.
They graduated high school together. They had, friends in common, played ball together when they were younger. You can't say there's no connection. Nobody knows what Stephen's life was like. What I will say is that we know of no evidence that would support any kind of, relationship between Stephen and Buster.
But it was Alex Murdoch and his brother Randy came to the scene of Stephen's death, going through the crime tape. No one sure why.
I know that soon after, Randy Murdoch had called.
Randy is Alex Murdoch's brother.
When I was on the phone with Joel, he said, let me put you on hold because Randy Murdoch's calling. He said, Randy wants to take Stephen's case pro bono. And I was like, what case? Because they said it was a hit and run.
Did you think that call from Randy Murdoch was strange?
Yes, it made no sense to me.
Yeah.
I need this.
I mean, really, there was no case.
I need this interview here. I don't know. I don't even know who those people are. If anybody knows this interview, please send it to me.
Like, what case? Because they said it was a hit and run.
Did you think that call from Randy Murdoch was strange?
Yes, it made no sense to me.
Yeah. And
I mean, really, there was no case there yet.
Yeah, you didn't know it was a case yet.
And his law office has said that he didn't know Stephen had died until after the funeral.
Excuse me, but Alex Murdoch and Randy Murdoch were standing at the crime scene.
Oh, wow.
They were at the crime scene after Stephen's body was moved.
Whoa.
Randy Murdoch
Whoa.
called.
Whoa. Sorry, 1 second. I got another video playing in the background on accident. 1 second. Okay. I gotta hear what she said again. Did she say Alec was there too? Right here. Excuse me, but Alec and Randy. It must be Netflix because I haven't heard this. Yep, Punksy, and that's what's happening. Really? See, I don't have Netflix. If I had Netflix, then I could actually take clips of this. Maybe I should get it. See, I knew Randy was there. I didn't know Alec was there. Maybe I should get Netflix. Then because I can make clips of this stuff just like these other channels. Maybe I should. It's just, man, it's already a cost with StreamYard and all these other programs and stuff. It's like, dang. I might have to do it though. $20 a month, right? I just never use it. That's the thing. All right, let me go back to this. I'm going to go to the beginning of this when she starts talking here. I got to hear this. Let me turn this music down a little bit too. There we go. We'll get that turned down a little bit more.
Is Alex Murdaugh's brother.
Well, I already did the free trial a long time ago. I don't know. I might have to do that with a different account. That's a good idea.
When I was on the phone with Joel, he
Wow.
said, let me put you on hold because Randy Murdaugh's calling.
Right.
He said, Randy wants to take Stephen's case pro bono. And I was like, what case? Because they said it was a hit and run.
Did you think that call from Randy Murdaugh was strange?
Yes, it made no sense to me.
Right.
Yeah. And
I mean, really, there was no case there yet.
Yeah, you didn't know it was a case yet.
And his law office has said that he didn't know Stephen had died until after the funeral.
Excuse me, but
Whoa, hold on. He said what?
And his law office has said that he didn't know Stephen had died until after the funeral.
That's what the law office said. Yeah, I might have to use. I might just use my Evil CJ because I guess I don't need saved videos and all that stuff that I've built up over time. I can just do the Evil CJ account and do the free trial and yeah, collect all this stuff within a month. That's a good idea. Yeah. I might have to see if I can get that to work. Yeah, they classify it as a hit and run, but it's not.
Excuse me, but Alex Murdaugh and Randy Murdaugh were standing at the crime scene.
Oh, wow.
They were at the crime scene after Stephen's body was moved. Randy Murdaugh called and asked, was that you that just passed by? I said, yeah. He said, I wish you would have stopped so I could have met you.
Whoa.
At the crime scene.
Whoa.
His office says that he never offered to represent the family in any way.
Well, if you can believe anything a Murdaugh says.
Wow.
SLED has released some of the interrogations and interviews regarding Stephen's case to the media.
Wow.
The lead investigator at the time even voiced his doubts about this being a hit and run.
Typically, you don't see the highway patrol working a murder, and that's what this is.
Right.
That was the lead investigator at the time, yet you still don't have answers and you still don't know who did this.
Right.
This is either an extreme amount of corruption from very powerful people who were able to pull all of these strings, or everybody involved in this did not do their job, and that is very scary for the justice system too.
And that's what we've been saying. It's puppet strings with this case.
Both sides, it's scary.
What do you believe happened to your son, Stephen?
I feel like they beat him to death because the only damage was to his head. And he did have some defense wounds. He had a dislocated shoulder. It had to be somebody he knew to put his body like he was walking home.
I mean, my heart goes out to her. It's just hard to believe.
It's been 7 years and Stephen's case is still unsolved. His mother's attorney has yet to bring a case against the Murdaugh family.
Great video.
There's no fact that I can point to other than talk, rumor, speculation, and the connection of SLED reopening the case at Moselle.
Right.
There's nothing connected to the Murdaughs. And I'll tell you the other thing. There are people right now in Hampton who know what happened. And they need to come forward.
Sandy lost her son, but she also lost her own community because people were just turning their backs saying, we can't say anything.
His His family reports he would have never left the car, calling him skittish. And his twin sister, Stephanie, also tells authorities that her brother had become very secretive about 2 weeks prior to the incident. Documents show investigators fielding tips about the Murdaugh family in the days and months following his death. The first tip comes in early August, suggesting swirling rumors of a relationship between Smith and Buster Murdaugh, Alec Murdaugh's eldest and now only surviving son. An investigator also fields a tip about another possible suspect, but that tipster tells them he passed along the information at the request of Randy Murdaugh. Andrew says in the records she has the Murdaugh name is mentioned 40 times.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. There has to be something to it.
Stephen was supposed to go that weekend fishing down in Florida, and he talked about it with his mother. He didn't tell her who he was going with. He said it was an important person. So that is a good fact. So I guess SLED will look into who in that area may have been fishing that weekend in Florida, and are there any communications on his phone that would have enlightened that to show that he was in communication with an important person that was taking him fishing. That's the only other fact we know. Look, Vinny, everybody universally agrees that he didn't die on that road that night, that something else happened. And the Murdaughs are no longer going to get the benefit of any doubt. For this to really move, I think they're going to have to exhume his body. And if the state is not going to do that, we are going to start a fundraiser to raise the money for Stephen to be exhumed.
And that's already taken place. Not the exhume part of it, but they've raised enough money, way beyond enough money, to go ahead and have that happen. And so that'll be taking place soon. I will keep you guys updated. I want to say thank you to Suzanne again for hopping on the other night. I would love to have you back on any other night with any kind of updates or just general discussion. And that's very true, Allison. We did explore in the theories and interviews episode from Tuesday, we actually explored all the different possibilities. I went into that night thinking that Mark, that older gentleman that you speak of, I went into that night thinking Mark just should, no reason to look at. And I ended the night with going, wow, he is definitely a possible person, in my opinion. A lot of theories. We'll be going into more theories Monday and Tuesday nights. So if you're not doing nothing, I'd love to have you up. That's what we thought from the beginning. That's one of the theories. That's the first initial theory. And then as we started exploring these interviews and stuff, anybody, whether you're in live or replay and you haven't checked out the theories and interviews video that we did on Tuesday, definitely a must watch. And then if you have any theories that you'd like to jot down and send them to me, or you'd like to hop in on any of these nights that we do focus on it, I would love to hear what you have to say or read what you have to send. You can send me your theory too. But there's 3 plausible theories, in my opinion. 3 of them. You got the Buster, Xavier, Paul theory. You got the Daryl Williams, I think was his son Patrick, and his friend Steven. Located. Also, Stephen supposedly had hit a vehicle, but then at the same time, with that theory, we know that Daryl told Ellie that the only reason that he was telling him this was because Randy Murdaugh asked him to say it. So we don't know how much, validity is with that one, but it's definitely a possible theory. There is another theory from Ben, who discusses 2 to 3 young men harassing him turning around, coming back because they noticed his truck or his car, noticed him walking, turned around and started harassing him. That's one of the main theories I'm really thinking took place. I think the bat was involved. But there's definitely a few plausible theories out there, and we're going to cover those extensively Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, even anybody in replay, if you haven't checked out the theories and interviews, I know it's a long show. It's about 4 hours. But I did put a timestamp in it, so you know you got the timestamp of the open general chat, and then you got the timestamp of where we actually dug into the theories and the interviews. So while you're working or chilling back, doing laundry, definitely take a listen. Split it up. It's jam-packed with information. We'll be going into that more Monday and Tuesday. Would love to have your guys' opinions. Because just like Pam mentioned earlier, there's just different things that I might know and you might know and we don't know at the same time, and we mix them all together and we're putting puzzle pieces together. All right, so let me go ahead and get into this. Now, the Exhume is going to be happening here soon, and I think it definitely needs to take place, and I'm glad that the family's all about it, because I think that they're going to find a lot more answers that this pathologist and coroner, I just don't know about them. I want to know about them tomorrow night. So if you do have any information, or you can come across any information about the pathologist, coroner, lead investigator, incident report, autopsy report, evidence analysis, let's dig into it tomorrow night.
Get a court order to get permission, hopefully, and then we'll know a little bit more, because until the body is exhumed and we can have a real forensic autopsy done, I don't think we're going to get anywhere, because certainly Alex is not going to talk. I don't expect Randy to talk. And, Buster, I'm not sure is willing to talk. And if people aren't willing to talk, we're going to get nowhere. So I think it's going to have to be a forensic examination rather than a verbal disclosure.
Nice.
I was so proud of him, because his favorite saying is, I am who I am, and God made me, and God don't make mistakes.
He would be so ecstatic just to know his name is everywhere.
He was honored at the 2021 Gay Pride Parade in South Carolina, and funds were raised to provide the gravestone that his family had never been able to afford.
Now there's so many people on my side that wants justice for Stephen like I do. And it's amazing.
Same here. We all do too. That's why we need to keep talking about this. Because they just want people to stop talking about it. That way people forget. So here is this. Look at this, guys. We covered this on a show earlier in the week. It was only at 14,000, I think. 12,000. Then at the end of the show, it jumped up to 20-some thousand. Look at it now. Thank you, Punksy. I appreciate that. Have a great night. $57,000. That's so awesome. And I hope this helps this family get the answers they need. I don't know how much an autopsy, all this independent stuff. I don't know how much that costs, but I know it probably isn't cheap. So that's so cool. Let me add that to my pages. That way we can keep showing that too. I don't know how much an autopsy costs. I'm sure it ain't cheap though. And in my opinion, I totally feel this crime has to take place because of his sexuality. I think that's the motive. Again, if you'd like to hop up on open panel, if you have anything to say, or if there's a topic you want to talk about, you're more than welcome. And you can also call while we switch here. Great video by True Crime Design. I appreciate that. All right. So let me save that. Okay, now this is a video about, yeah, we know the body was found near the hunting lodge. Exactly, Allison. And that's damn straight Kib Kitty 100. Oh, you're good. This show is secondary. Your family's primary. There is no worries on this side. We're a chill channel. So this is information about it to be exhumed. It wasn't too far from the hunting lodge. I do need to add that to my Google stuff. But we can do that in a little bit. Let's hear what they have to say on this one. Inside Edition.
Twist in the Alex Murdaugh saga. The body of a 19-year-old former classmate of Alex Murdaugh's son, Buster, is being exhumed. A GoFundMe page has raised nearly $44,000 to pay for the independent autopsy. The victim, Stephen Smith, died under mysterious circumstances in 2015. He was openly gay, and his mother, Sandy Smith, believes his death was a hate crime. She posted today, "Our family is so very grateful to all of you who came together to help us in our fight for justice for Stephen.
That's so
Thank you
awesome.
for not allowing Stephen's story to be swept under a rug."
That's
I
awesome.
spoke with her today.
I know my son was beaten to death, and I know that somebody knows who did it and why they did it, and I just pray that they will find it in their heart to come forward.
You'll have a seat up on the witness stand. Buster testified in his father's defense. Following the sentencing, Alex Murdaugh was heckled about the Stephen Smith case.
Justice for Stephen Smith, Alex. Buster is next. Your son is next, Alex.
When Murdaugh was awaiting trial, Buster dismissed Smith's death in a phone call at prison that they apparently knew was being taped.
Hey, so Buster, you know this Stephen Smith thing? Well, this absolutely has nothing to do with you or our family or anything. Oh, my God. I know that. But they put it out there.
Stephen Smith's body was found on a rural road in South Carolina, 15 minutes from the Murdaugh family hunting lodge
That phone call was set up.
where Maggie Murdaugh and her son Paul were
They knew that shit was being recorded, so let's kind of pretend like we don't know and then say, hey, we don't have nothing to do with that, son.
murdered. Buster knew Stephen Smith from high school. His death was ruled a hit and run, but there were no tire marks, no broken glass, and no other injuries pointing to him being hit by a car. His own car was found 3 miles away, out of gas.
Did you ever believe it was a hit and run?
Never. I always thought it was murder.
No member of the Murdaugh family was ever questioned about Stephen Smith's death, and no charges were filed.
Nope, they were not. Yeah, that was a staged phone call. That's no lie. That's interesting about the fishing trip. I never knew that that was included. I'm surprised they talked about that. Let me see here. That was a great video by True Crime Design. I want to see what else I got. I know I got some other You guys want to keep talking about Stephen Smith, or do you want to switch it up? Is there a different topic anybody wants to talk about? Yes, prayers for the daddy. Now there is, you know what? I think this is going to be an interesting video. Do you guys want to stay on this topic? Let me know. If you want me to switch it up, let me know. There is another decent video. It's like a half hour, but it's from Profiling Evil, the podcast from Mike King. I do have a video where he discusses all of the injuries. Now, we can go into some evidence analysis tonight when it comes to, because this guy's amazing. Profiling Evil. Let me get the link. By Mike King. So if you guys want to cover a different topic, let me know. Let's see. Otherwise, okay, I do have the Murdoch talks about Stephen Smith in jailhouse. I just haven't checked it out. But I do want to go over this injuries and such. Did I get your email? No, I never know if I get a... Is it from earlier? What's the topic? Or what's the specific email, Pam? Let me know. I have so many emails. Jumping now. Good night, Poxy. Yeah, let me switch to this Profiling Evil. We'll check this out. We'll kind of go through the injuries. If you have notebooks and you have a pen or a pencil and you want to jot down some notes, I'm sure we're going to learn some information on here. That's one thing I need to get to is my notes. I didn't get to those today. And if you'd like to hop up on panel, I'll throw that link out there real quick too. And we'll sit back and check out this Profiling Evil video about all the injuries. If there's anything else you want to cover, let me know. We'll cover it. Thank you for hopping in.
Stephen Smith purposely murdered, or was this mysterious death a tragic traffic accident as he walked along a quiet, dark South Carolina back road? Some people say this is more about the Murdoch family than anything else. Could there be more to this perplexing story? Well, I tried to talk about something different rather than the Murdoch saga, but in 2015, 6 years before Alec Murdoch and son, a 19-year-old nursing student named Stephen Smith was found lying in the middle of a dark country road, 3 miles from where his car had run out of gas. Now, he had blunt force trauma, deep blunt force trauma to his forehead, and he had injuries that were so bad that it was originally believed that this young man had been shot to death. Well, thanks for tuning in to Profiling Evil. In this episode on the ever-evolving Murdaugh family saga. Now, some people, they're saying that Murdaugh committed another murder, while police eventually ruled this thing as a fatal auto pedestrian accident. But I think there's some division between state police and, frankly, state investigators. But first, hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell so that you're getting all of our notifications on videos like this one. And folks, thanks for listening to Profiling Evil. Now let's dig into this case and look at the evidence as we know it. Now, I first want to comment that if law enforcement truly believed that this young man was lying on the road with a gunshot wound to the head, I don't believe for a minute that they would not have conducted a death investigation that was very complex. Now, instead, rumors suggest that police quickly brushed aside this case and said it was a hit-and-run accident. Now, this is conflicting information in my book, and it doesn't make sense, and it didn't make sense from the get-go. Now, whether it has something to do with the Murdaugh family's legacy of this murdering of Maggie Murdaugh and Paul Murdaugh, the Smith family believes that Stephen Smith died as a result of a homicide, and they're hoping that the person responsible will go to jail. Now, we're going to go back. It was July 8th, 2015, when Smith's body was recovered in this dark part of South Carolina, in the middle of a road on Hampton County Road, right at an intersection where kind of a V where two roads come together. The autopsy would show that he had a 7¼ inch long gash on the right side of his forehead. He also had a partially dislocated right shoulder, and he had cuts and bruises on his right hand and arm. Now, his...
Okay, sorry guys. I got to rewind that because I couldn't hear it with the other stuff in the background. 1 second. And I do have that saved now, Pam. Thank you.
Quickly brushed aside this case, said it was a hit-and-run accident. Now, this is conflicting information in my book, and it doesn't make sense, and it didn't make sense from the get-go. Now, whether it has something to do with the Murdaugh family's legacy of this murdering of Maggie Murdaugh and Paul Murdaugh, the Smith family believes that Stephen Smith died as a result of a homicide, and they're hoping that the person responsible will go to jail. Now, we're going to go back. It was July 8th, 2015, when Smith's body was recovered in this dark part of South Carolina, in the middle of a road on Hampton County Road, right at an intersection where kind of a V where two roads come together. The autopsy would show that he had a 7¼ inch long gash on the right side of his forehead. He also had a partially dislocated right shoulder, and he had cuts and bruises on his right hand and arm. Now, his vehicle was about 3 miles to the east of where he was located. It was out of gas, and it was on the side of the road. The gas cap was unscrewed, opened up, but Smith's wallet was located inside the vehicle. And I think this is really important, so I want you to remember that part of the information. Now, last night I spoke with Vinnie Politan on Court TV about the case, and the question came up about whether it's believable or not that this was a hit-and-run accident. Now, the family and their attorneys suggest that the wounds on Smith's right side are defensive in nature, and they believe that their boy was beaten to death, presumably because he's gay. Now, his mother commented that Stephen would never have walked along those dark roads, opting to cut through the woods instead for safety reasons. Didn't go into detail, so we can kind of theorize what he was so concerned about. I don't think it was vehicular traffic that he was concerned about. Now, it was dark outside that night. He was returning home from a night class at the local technical college. And again, keep in mind, it was dark because, again, that plays into the behaviors of what we're going to see. Let's listen as Vinny and I talk about this case.
Joining me tonight in Columbia, South Carolina, attorney, host of the Cup of Justice podcast, Eric Bland, great to see you. And in Salt Lake City, Utah, retired police commander, host of the Profiling Evil podcast, Mike King is with us as well. Great to see both of you. Mike, I just want to quickly, from your perspective, a hit and run, a traffic accident, someone gets killed. Does this sound like that to you based upon what you've read, what you've learned about Stephen Smith? Does it strike you as, okay, yeah, this is very consistent with what a hit and run would look like?
Well, there certainly could be head trauma. There could be trauma that some people could interpret as defensive wounds. I mean, certainly someone could put their hand up as a vehicle was approaching them quickly. So it's really going to boil down to the forensics and what that injury looks like, those defensive wounds, and whether those wounds are kind of positioned small and large or all concise. It makes me think of that old saying that he who's good with a hammer thinks everything is a nail. And we have to be really cautious that an investigator doesn't just pull up and say, hey, he's alongside the road, it's a dark road, and he probably was hit by a car. And when we do that, we end up spending all our time trying to twist all of the theories as they unfold to fit this mindset that we have, rather than looking at the facts and then coming up with theories. And I hope what we're starting to learn is facts, Vinny.
Yeah, and either way, it's an unsolved crime. It's still an unsolved crime at this point, so it should be wide open, this case. Not reopened, it never should have closed.
Well, one thing that was very clear from the get-go was this is still a homicide, regardless of whether it's a hit-and-run, accidental homicide, or it was an intentional targeted murder. It's a homicide. Either way, Vinny's correct in this. Now, I shouldn't be doubting that. He's a prosecutor. But this thing should have been investigated as a crime from the get-go and never closed. And when people say it was closed, it really makes me wonder if they know what's going on in this case. And I'd be interested, if they did close it, how on earth they did it when they never determined who caused this hit and run accident. There's no determination of who struck this young man, whether it was with a vehicle or, as the family suggests, a blunt object of some kind. But this is what we do know. Stephen Smith suffered traumatic head injuries, and he also suffered injuries to his right side, injuries to his arm and to his hand and wrist. All of this could be explained by a vehicle hitting him in one fell swoop. Now, I think the injuries on the right side of Stephen's body are pretty darn telling in a number of ways, and it kind of helps me in developing a theory that I wonder if it might not play out. Number one, if this kid was beaten to death, it seems to me like there would be injuries to more places than just one side of his body. Now, that is unless that blow, the first one to the head, made him unconscious and he died after that. And that's very possible. But if he was beaten to death, I could see him rolling around on the ground, trying to get away, turning, twisting, and getting injuries on other locations on his body. I want to take a moment and look at a map, because if in fact he was walking from his vehicle toward his home, which is what they say is the most probable location he would have been walking to, there's some interesting things happening here. So let's look at this map. On the far right side, the east side, is where his vehicle was last left and where it was discovered by law enforcement. He would have been walking westerly toward his home. And again, there are a couple of scenarios that I can see happening. I've not been able to see which side of the road this young man was found on. And if you know, send it in so that we can get more information about it.
We already went over
I've
that.
only seen a reference that he was discovered in the middle of the road. Now, for discussion's sake, let's just say that he was walking against traffic so he could see.
Okay. So I'm gonna pull up a picture. I'm gonna take you. I'm gonna show you guys exactly. So I'm gonna pull this up. And if anybody can give, while I'm doing this, if anybody can give me the address of the hunting lodge for the Murdaws so I can put this in the map, please do. And then I'll add it as a destination. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so we're gonna zoom in here real quick. Get Google guy right there. Okay. All right. Unfortunately, I just have to go to my own pictures. But there's a picture where it shows the actual position. So let me dig through my pictures real quick. Good evening, Cherry Cherry. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate that. Let me put that in there. Okay. So you got the light pole. Okay. So his head was in the location of the dotted lines on the highway, okay? So it was actually, if I can get to it from Google. All right, right here is the specific location. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of this. I'm going to screenshot it, and I'm going to draw my own little version of it tomorrow. And then I'll be able to show you guys exactly. So basically right by the light pole, the head and most of the body was placed along the dotted lines of the road. And his arm, his right arm, was located over the center line, the continuous line, into the other part of the road. Okay. So really, this was the location right here. Most of the body was on this side of the road, the right side of where we're looking. The arm was mostly covering that line that's continuous to the other side of the road. Well, they put light pole when it comes to the report or whatever. The report states light pole, so I'm just going off of what the report says. But electrical line, yeah, we can see that right there. I'm just going off of what's in the report. So this is it's a pole, so that's what we're really referencing. And most of the body was on the right side here. Yeah, I'm just going off of what the report said, Pam. Thank you, though. But basically, the main focus is the pole. Because the next pole is way down there, and the next pole is like way over there. Can't even see it. So right here, most of the body on the right side, the head was on the dotted line area. Most of the body on the right of this picture, arm on the left. What's up, Kid Kitty?
Hey, I
So,
can't be on long, but I thought I'd join for a little bit.
Yeah, I just wanted to go over the specific location of it so that way everybody knew, because he said he didn't really know, and I thought it was something that we needed to cover.
I got the address for Moselle.
Yeah, I saw that. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
I'm gonna put that. I gotta get a screenshot of this real quick so I can make a picture tomorrow. All right, there we go. Give me 1 second. I wish I could like make my pictures a tab too, so I could share my pictures that I'm looking at. Let's see. Plus, I wish I had a way to do all this in the background, but still have the show going. All right. 1 second.
Sometimes my new picture works and sometimes it don't.
Yeah, I know, that's weird, ain't it?
It is.
Okay, 1 second here. All right, we'll get back. Wait, yeah, is there anything you wanted to say before we start more of this video? I just
No,
wanted to
you're
make
good.
sure everybody was clear where the body was, you know, because we learned from Suzanne, and then we got some reports. So I just wanted to let everybody know exactly where the body was located. And I'm going to do my own picture. That way, if we come across it, I just wish I could share it as a tab. Maybe I can send it in Discord and then open it up. Because I know when I get a Discord, I can open it as a tab.
Yeah.
Maybe I can figure out a way to, like with one of my mods, I can figure out a way to send them a picture that they can send back to me real quick or something. That way I can open it up as a tab or something. Or maybe I can, I don't know, maybe I could just post it and then open it up. I'm not sure. I'll have to mess around with that. Yeah, is there anything? I do need to check out the low country stuff. I heard a lot about low country lately too. Have you watched anything on the low country? Is that like a region thing or something? What is that? Do you know what it means?
That's just what they call down that area is low country. I don't think I'm considered low country.
It's in the middle of the state though, ain't it? Here, I was thinking it was like way south or something, but it's in the middle of the state. Let me add that location on this Google map too.
I think it's about, Charleston's about 3 hours away from me. And I think it's another hour south of Charleston. Hour and a half.
Let me zoom back.
South of Charleston.
Let me zoom back and see. So it's located. Let's see. Yeah, Charleston is right on the beach. So this is in between Charleston and Savannah, but up into the state more. In between Augusta, Savannah, and Charleston, but more towards Charleston and Savannah, right smack in the middle of those three cities. All right, so let me add a destination here. Let's see here. I gotta copy and paste that address real quick. Moselle Road. And thank you for that information.
You're welcome.
Moselle Road. Islandton. Islandton? Is that the...
I have no idea. It's right in that area somewhere.
So here, I got it zoomed in. Does that look like it's the right location? Islandton, South Carolina, 29929.
I'm not sure on that. It's Colleton County, I know, but
the more and more I think about that empty house.
They said it's not far from where his body was found.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is what it is. I just want to make sure if anybody knows for sure. Because it's given me a location at a heating and cooling company. Right by a heating and cooling company. So I don't know. I just want to make sure. And let me see here. Excuse me. Yeah, the more and more I know about this vacant house and we keep talking about it, it seems like a possible meetup spot. And when it comes to the fishing trip, the mother said that he was going to be going on a fishing trip with an important individual, didn't or wouldn't say who. And so if, hello, put two and two together, your name's already involved, BM.
Right.
And you went on a fishing trip that you talked with your daddy about on a phone call. And I do have that video.
Yeah.
We'll go to that one next if you guys want to keep talking about this topic. So yeah, it definitely makes sense. And with, people would have to know, that's, whoa,
it definitely makes sense. And
oh my
with,
gosh.
people would have
mute
to
you
know.
for a minute. If you can turn me down in the background, Kitty. I just had to mute you for a minute. I was getting echoes. All right, there we go. I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
It's all right. I lost my train of thought.
Some video or something?
Shit.
Ham said about Buster's phone call to his dad or something.
Oh, she's talking about the fishing trip.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, I'm sure it'll come back to me. But yeah, I just want to make sure that's the right location of the property for the hunting lodge. Just because it's by a heating and cooling company. Where is Kevin? He's probably getting some rest. All right, so we'll get back to this video from Profiling Evil. Just wanted to make sure everybody knew the location of where the body was.
Oncoming traffic of the road. It's possible, even probable, that a car either purposely or accidentally hit head on. Now, just a second before impact, Stephen could have turned and tried to run into the woods, even putting his arm up instinctively to block this oncoming assault that's coming. He again could have even had enough presence to turn and try to dart into the woods before the vehicle hit him. Now think about this, because a vehicle that's traveling at 30 miles an hour, for instance, is traveling about 45 feet per second. So that's really fast. That is covering a lot of ground. And even though the body might say turn and flinch, that vehicle is going to strike before he could have gotten out of the way. Now, interesting, could explain the blunt force trauma to the right side of his body. And this is where it's so important that we be able to see at some point, hopefully a trial someday, the crime scene imagery, accident photos, the crime scene photos, the location where his body was found. This is where I'm looking for reconstruction experts, and I hope something was really created at the time this happened. Again, if the South Carolina Highway Patrol conducted this investigation, I'm suspecting that there was a field diagram made that would include that. Now let's keep Stephen on the left side of the road for just a moment and replay this with the vehicle approaching him from behind. Again, either purposefully or by accident, the vehicle would have to cross the center lane of the road and come on into the lane or oncoming traffic if there was traffic, which I doubt there was at that time of night. they would have to cross the road before striking this young man, striking him from behind. And it's possible he could have turned and saw the car, did a defensive move before being hit. But keep in mind, there would, without doubt, be skid marks, scuff marks, debris on the road, regardless of how this might have happened. There would have been impact points on the road. You know, hit and run auto pedestrian accidents are incredibly violent. They leave an incredible amount of physical and forensic evidence in their wake. So frankly, I don't believe that it happened there if they didn't discover anything that would support that kind of a theory, unless this kid was injured someplace else and this actually ended up being a disposal site, a staged crime scene. And we've talked a lot about that. Go back and watch my videos on the 3 crime scenes: the initial contact site, the actual place where the crime occurred, and the disposal site. Each are very distinct and each tell us a lot about the event as it uncovered. You can find those at the Profiling Evil Academy. And folks, I'm going to plug the Academy right now since I'm talking about it. If you haven't considered our channel memberships, please consider the Profiling Evil Academy level. It's only $4.99 a month, and there you get a whole lot more information, a lot deeper dives into this criminal investigative process. But now let's get back. Before I move on, we also want to consider that Smith was walking with traffic, perhaps even walking backwards, thumbing as he went along and a vehicle was approaching. And that is, if you're catching the vision here, is another way that we could explain how those injuries might have occurred to this young man as he's walking down the road. Frankly, we just can't jump to conclusions without all of the evidence being looked at and taken into account. Now, keep this in mind as you consider the other theories out there that this young man was beaten in a different location and then dumped on the roadside. Did the car pull over and throw him out? Was he tossed from a moving vehicle? All of these are going to leave different kinds of forensic evidence along the way. So it's going to really be incumbent upon investigators to have gotten as much video and imagery and crime scene calculations as possible back when this happened. All of it could describe the injuries. And frankly, it makes me keep asking the question, if he were tossed out of a moving vehicle, if he were beaten, those things would leave multiple injuries, including, frankly, if he was hit by a car, there could be other injuries. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the actual autopsy photographs show and whether there were abrasions on other sides and parts of his body. And this is really interesting because we're going to talk about the condition of his clothing when the autopsy was conducted and a few things that investigators noted at the time they investigated this case. Again, if this guy was thrown from a vehicle, if it was a hit and run, there would be more violent injuries. Now, keep in mind that the location of the body and any blood or other forensic evidence that's discovered where the body is recovered also provides some incredible value in understanding what happened here. It'll show us whether this kid's blood was pumping at the time that he got onto that roadway, or if he was dead when he was deposited there, if that theory plays out. Now, on Court TV last night with Vinnie Politan, I spoke about the possibilities of other kinds of forensic evidence in this case, including a new autopsy, and whether or not they're the key to solving this mystery. Let's watch this.
It comes back to those rumors. I want to play for you something from Netflix, from the Murdaugh Murders, a Southern Scandal. And again, it gets back to this theme. Like, I was down there. Everyone's talking about this. I mean, everyone. Take a listen.
There are facts that don't add up and bodies tied to this family.
The Murdaughs would just make someone disappear.
There were so many rumors that Buster and Stephen were intimate together.
Stephen's death is now intertwined with the Murdaughs.
All right, Mike King, how does an investigator go from everyone's talking, there's rumors everywhere, to getting to where you want to go, which is the facts of the case. How do investigators do that?
I think you have to dig right into the kinds of things that you know right off the bat. And I really liked Eric's idea of we got to exhume this body and do a thorough examination, have another set of eyes look at it. But in addition to that, there is forensic examination way beyond the body that could be really valuable in this case. Looking at phones, we don't know what SLED has uncovered in the course of their investigation that might have tied back. This young man's mother really intrigued me by saying that there is something there that they've got that she may have privy to. I don't know, but the forensics on the phone, does it put them together? Where did it put this young man Stephen on the night that he died, before the event and then at the time of death? What were people doing around him in that same circle, and how were they all coming together in this one place and time? And then as they start to get these little building blocks in place, we all know that that's when you start getting more questions that you need answers to. You start going down a different pathway than maybe originally you pursued, and you start uncovering things. I love the fact that people in the community are talking, hopefully not maliciously, but are getting the courage to say, yeah, but I remember this, and it really bothered me then, but all of a sudden it seems a whole lot more significant.
Yeah, I'm
Benny.
Go ahead,
Benny. Stephen was supposed to go that weekend fishing down in the Florida, and he talked about it with his mother. He didn't tell her who he was going with. He said it was an important person. So that is a good fact. So I guess SLED will look into who in that area may have been fishing that weekend in Florida. And are there any communications with Stephen on his phone that would have enlightened that to show that he was in communication with an important person that was taking him fishing? That's the only other fact we know.
And I wonder how much investigating there was into the phone. I mean, our lives on the phone. We just finished a trial where the phones were pretty important. Right. Pretty important. So let's see what they do. We're going to talk more about this investigation. Eric Bland, Mike King staying with us. When we come back, we'll get into a few more of the details of what happened to Stephen Smith. You know, where he was coming from, where his house was. The locations in this case, very significant as well. We'll be right back.
So we'll take a break here just to respect the creator and kind of chit-chat a little bit about it. Yeah, the mom said right there. I need to get Netflix. Was that on Netflix? Is this Netflix?
Yeah,
stuff?
that was. Yeah.
Man. I might have to get it. Because then at least I can make clips of it myself and save them for any time. Because I can put them in a folder. I could just do a StreamYard offline and have that screen shared, and then it's in my personal library.
Yeah. It's not as much money for just you.
And
I pay for two.
Yeah.
I pay for 2 TVs, so it's more for me.
Because I don't even need the HD quality when it comes to that, I'd imagine. Or do you think I would? I mean, I'm just getting.
I've never paid HD quality, and it's pretty good quality. I just signed up for it online or on my TV. Do you have a smart TV?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just click on Netflix and you can join that way.
I know, Allison, you should do a cooking show. Seriously, all the stuff you make. Maybe one time you do a cooking show, I can join you. Like if you're doing your cooking show, maybe you can show me how to cook something and I'll live stream on my side how to cook what Allison's cooking. Some kind of goodies like that, like those the homemade chocolate peanut butter cups. Oh my gosh, that sounds so good.
It does.
Teach CJ.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. And then I'll live stream me trying to make it. Good luck. Yeah, it sounds good. I would love to do that. Man, yeah, I might have to do the Netflix thing because I keep seeing these good interviews. But yeah, the mom says it right there in that video that he said he was going on a fishing trip with somebody important. Pam comes in the show tonight and says, "Hey, there's a prison call where Alec and Buster are talking about that." So we'll be playing that next after this Profiling Evil video that we're checking out tonight. Just kind of going over stuff. Showed you guys where the location and how the body was positioned and where it was at. Did that on Google. So I'll have a better picture tomorrow when we bring it up. And I got to figure out a way to pop them up as tabs. That way I don't have to ever share. Because with StreamYard, you got to close down your stream, your screen share, then open up another one, pick the folder. Then, it's a process. It's like, but with Discord, you can just pop it up and it opens as a tab. It's nice. So I got to figure out a way to use that. I just don't know much about Discord. Like I post ingredients for the week that we will need. That would be sweet. Yes. That's a great idea, Allison. So if you want to get the jump on some possible shows like that, here, I'll go ahead and if you didn't change your handle, I'll go ahead and throw up the link and you can make sure you're subbed to Allison. So if something is like that, I'm definitely down. And I'll even do a show where I'm trying to do it on my end too. I'll watch your live and then I'll try and do it. Or if there's a way we can do it at the same time, that'd be yummy. They should have a feature like that where you can have like dual streams up on YouTube. Dual streams. Or they should come out with a feature where you can have a party. But I suppose I could just join the panel and have... That's what I could do. I could just join a panel, Allison, if you have a panel. I could join the panel and just have my camera be on me doing my cooking and shit. So I wouldn't even need to do that. That'd be fun. I'd love to try and make some goodies like that. All right, back to this video. I need to get Netflix, I think.
Right. So let's take a moment.
And by the way, I'll go ahead and throw out the panel link. If anybody else would like to hop up, you're more than welcome. All right, we got another, 12 minutes, 15 minutes or so.
Couple of maps that I created really quickly, specifically from the location where Stephen Smith's vehicle was left abandoned. Now that's pictured on the right side of your screen to that little round red dot. And of course, it indicates his vehicle. In the center of the map is a red star, and that star indicates the location where Stephen Smith's body was found when police came and responded to the scene. And then on the far left...
So what he's showing right here is the walking distance. So that's the walking... That's a path that you would take to walk there. It's about 10, 15 minutes quicker than if you were to walk down 601 and up Sandy Run Road until you get to Joe Miley Road and then take a left.
The very west end is the location where Stephen Smith's home was located. Again, the intended destination for this kid if he was out walking to home because he ran out of gas. And again, I still want to know what direction the car was pointing when it was pulled off the road. Was it pointing facing west toward his home, or was it east going away from his home? All of those behavioral kinds of things are going to tell us a whole lot. And we're not hearing that. We're just hearing bits and pieces. Now, I plotted the shortest distance from the location where the vehicle was recovered to Stephen Smith's home. It's 4.2 miles, and it follows a route that's north of where the body was discovered. And it's interesting to note, if you're looking at this map, that the location would not take Stephen Smith past the location where his body was recovered. That's the shortest route from point A, vehicle breakdown, to point B, his home. Now, those of you with local knowledge might be able to give me a reason why he ended up in this little V on the road, or the Y in the road, where his body was recovered, rather than taking that shortest northern route that I plotted out. That could be explained if he were to take a straight path walking. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the next map is showing the next likely route if he were walking on the road. And these are routes if he were walking on the road, folks. And that one would take him past the place where his body was found, but it's actually 4.9 miles to his home, almost 3/4 of a mile further than if he were to take that northern route. So again, it just doesn't make sense to me that he would have taken that. And then, of course, we got to consider, like his mother suggested, that maybe he would have cut through the woods, again, to avoid detection or to keep away from people. It certainly would have been a shorter route. It's like 1.5 miles. But in the dark and through fields and heavy trees, I think it's really less likely that he would have busted out and walked across the woods on his own, unless he had a good flashlight with his phone, which he did apparently have his phone with him. I just don't know the condition of his phone battery at that time. Now, Vinny brought up a really valid point about this kid being able to use his mobile phone to call for help. Now, I guess he could use that phone as a flashlight to help him through. Again, I don't know what his battery life was like, but the question becomes, why didn't he use his phone and call for help? Well, the last map I'm showing you here shows the location of the cell towers in the area. It doesn't show the signal strength from each of those cell towers, but it does show us the location. And I want to take you back to testimony in the Murdaugh trial, when they clearly said that cell phone signals in that area of South Carolina are incredibly bad. Coverage is not good, and in many places, there's no coverage at all. Frankly, I think it's really possible that he could have been in an area where there's no coverage at all. And if you live out there, folks, why don't you drive the route and tell me what it's like? Again, taking into account that it's now 7 years later and technology has actually improved quite a bit. But this brings up another question that I posed last night on Court TV, and that was, how many homes did this kid walk by on his way home that he could have stopped and asked if he could make a phone call and that he was out of gas? Well, the closer I looked at this, the fewer the homes were. There still are homes along the way, and it really makes sense that he could have called along the way to try to get help. But we got to catch that part of the discussion on the video, so let's watch.
Let's take a look at a map, because I think the map speaks volumes here, okay? You're going to see 3 locations. The dot all the way to the right, that's where his car is. And apparently his car did not have gas. And the gas tank was opened, right? It was left open. Why? I don't know. Do you take a peek in to see if there's gas? The middle dot is where he was found. That's where his body was found. And then all the way to the left, that last dot, that is where he lives. Now, it seems, if you take a quick glance at it, that it's consistent perhaps with him walking home after breaking down or not having gas. But according to our calculations on Google Maps, we're talking about from his house to where he was found is 3.5 miles. Then it looks like it's another, 3 miles or so, could be more depending on which way you walked to where his car was. So if you've got a cell phone in your pocket and you run out of gas on a country road, what are you going to do? Let's bring back Mike King, host of the Profiling Evil podcast. Mike King, he's got his cell phone, but he left his wallet with the car. That doesn't add up to me. And I would just think a simple, it can't be that difficult. A simple check the cell phone records. Did he call anyone? If you break down, you're going to call someone. And who he called maybe picked him up. I don't know.
Yeah, there's only a number of cell towers out there, so cell coverage is limited in some places. So that becomes an interesting factor that I'd like to see, because the cell towers and the sectors at that time might be a little different than they are today. You and I actually talked about cell tower sectors a lot on our case, Vinny, and so we have to take that into account. It's possible that there may not be coverage at that point, but it doesn't explain leaving if he's going to walk to get fuel, to leave his wallet behind. If he's walking to go home, maybe so, but then I want to know how many houses, and I haven't done a count, maybe Eric has, but how many houses did he pass along that path that he could have stopped and made a phone call from? I'm not as much troubled by the fact that he didn't cut through the woods like maybe his mom said he would, or others, if in fact it is dark, just because of how difficult it might have been to see. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, I'm looking at the map, and I've driven on a lot of the roads in that area, and you can go, a while without a house, and there may be a house on some property that's set back. But looking at this, these are not regular neighborhoods, Eric. These are true country roads. You just got to check his cell phone records. You check his cell phone records. I think that will open up the floodgates of information here.
Well, our discussion turned to what's going to happen next in this investigation. I think it's important to point out that South Carolina Highway Patrol officers, the original investigators of this case, they were really troubled by the idea of it being a hit and run. Number one, because they didn't find any glass fragments. That would be glass from like a headlight or a navigation light. Potentially, if he would have been up over the hood and into the windshield. They found no glass fragments on the scene, nor did they find on Sandy Run Road any evidence that supported skid marks, debris, tire marks, anything that was consistent with a traffic accident. Now, the most important thing I read in their report was that Stephen Smith was found still wearing his loosely tied shoes, both on his feet, and that his clothing appeared untouched. Now that is huge in my opinion, and it's not at all consistent with a violent auto-pedestrian collision. In auto-pedestrian collisions, almost all the time, even if the shoes are tied tightly, people are pulled from their shoes when that violent impact happens. For him to be found with loosely fitting shoes still on his feet really troubles me, and I find myself wondering what kind of crime scene investigation actually occurred where this vehicle accident supposedly happened. And I find myself wondering if maybe this was in fact a disposal site, and that the actual crime scene could have been back where his car was as he was standing on the side trying to flag somebody down to get him help to get fuel. To me, it seems more likely, and I wonder if a crime scene investigation was done where his vehicle was recovered. I'm going to be surprised if in fact it was. But most importantly, was this location where his body was found a staged scene? And sadly, if so, did South Carolina investigators take the bait and just the easy way out and say it was an auto-pedestrian accident until more information came to light? Listen as Vinny and I discuss that possibility and what happens next.
Mike King, to me, as Eric said, this opens another door, a new set of eyes. What we can learn from this could be enormously productive in this investigation.
Yeah, we really need to see what that autopsy was from start to finish, to see what maybe they missed, because again, re-examining, heck, I go back to King Tut. Years later, they investigate this thing and figure out this guy has fractures that nobody knew were there before. The body is going to yield evidence, and it's going to tell us whether events happened before death or after death. And I think they're going to be able to learn a lot about what happened by simply comparing today versus then. And frankly, I don't know, in 7 years, how much have we improved in forensics, let alone in medical forensics? Maybe they're going to find something that we weren't able to find 7 years ago. Well, I thought I was.
And that's what I'm thinking too, especially with the body going to be exhumed. I want to introduce somebody that hopped up, and I appreciate her comfort for hopping up on the open panel. Frantic Missy, thank you so much. If you want to just fill me in on who you are and what you want to talk about, thanks for hopping up.
Thanks for having me. Hi, I'm Frantic Missy. You can find me on Twitter, everything else. I am a conspiracy factualist who analyzes different cases and events in regards to our American history. And I study and research American history as well as ancient texts. But in this case, when it comes to Alex Murdaugh, he actually happens to be my mother's third cousin by marriage because I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. My mother grew up in Cottageville. And I actually have a lot of other cases that are also equally weird that Alex Murdaugh has gone over and talked about in the past and represented for cases. He's a weird dude.
Thank you, because in the beginning of the show, and actually while I started getting into this case, we started diving into it about a week ago. As I started diving into it, I started to wonder, and I don't know if you're available tomorrow night, but I wanted to kind of go into the pathologist and the coroner because of the fishiness of it all. And I was kind of wondering, as I'm going into it, I'm kind of wondering, like, is there any other cases that the same shit happened?
A bunch. There's a bunch of cases that South Carolina has fouled up in regards to their law enforcement, their crime scene techniques. Like, it's a big old mess. There's a woman named Shannon McConaughey who died in 1998, right? The guy that was committed, the only person they had that was a reference for it, that he was a witness or someone that was connected to the case, happened to be the brother of the same guy that they convicted Brittany Drexel for the first time. A lot of problems. There's a daughter and a mother that disappeared in Mount Holly, South Carolina, less than a year apart. Annette Sagers and her daughter, 11 months apart from each other, right? And like they disappeared at the end of this road on Highway 52. And then it turns out there's another like 4 or 5 bodies that have just gone, like, shown up in that area.
What?
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff.
What?
Don't even get me started on Gertrude Legandry and Medway Plantation. Don't even. Because that's an hour conversation, which I would love to tell you about.
Well, is there any night that you would have open for an extended period of time where we could sit down and talk about all that? I would love to hear about
I wrote a
all that.
720-page unpublishable, told to me by my publisher. My book was unpublishable. He said if I changed all the names and I changed all the circumstances, that he could get it in every single airport, and it would be like a top-selling book. And I was like, yeah, but these people did these things. No.
Whoa. And I just want to make sure, do I have the correct Twitter up? Is that the... Okay,
Yep.
so I do have the correct one. If anybody would like to follow her on Twitter, I'll go ahead and put the link in the description so you guys can go ahead and hit that. I
Yeah,
appreciate your comfort.
there's a lot
Wow.
to these cases.
Okay, because
Yeah.
that's what I was wondering, because as I was getting into this one with Stephen Smith, I'm like, I know this isn't the
Well, don't
only
forget
one that's fishy.
there's Stephen Smith. There's the daughter. There is Mallory. There is the Mallory Beach. There is the mother. There's the son, right? Who's like not even the favored son. Like, it was really weird the way he treated his son. Then you go about. You have to remember, his family was in power for 100 years.
Oh yeah, generations.
So what? His like,
right?
If this is the product of this family doing these things, what other bodies are out there to be found?
Oh, for sure. Way back. I mean, I even came across something about Alex's mother and the mysterious death about that.
Yes.
Like, as I'm starting to get into this now, the names that you have, if you can follow me back or something, send me messages with the names, please, because you're saying a lot of names I don't even know anything about.
Oh yeah, like
And I would
there's
love
this
to
whole
research.
family. Brittany Drexel's tied up in it. Did you know that Brittany Drexel was born with a birth defect that made her blind in her right eye?
No.
Did you know that Madeline McCann was born with a birth defect where she was blind in her right eye?
No.
1 in 6 million chance. It's called coloboma. You know who else was born with a birth defect where they're blind in the right eye? George Soros. I thought it was funny.
We love comedy too. We love comedy too.
I know, but real life though, like there's a lot of weird stuff surrounding the Brittany Drexel case. There's a lot of weird stuff in the Madeline McCann case. There's a lot of weird stuff in the Murdaugh thing. But then again, I don't think we're going to find out all the details for at least another 10 years. In 10 years, then we'll probably find out all of it. But I think there's still a lot of stuff that is yet to remain. You know?
Yeah, a lot of fishy stuff. I would.
Yes, and I think he did kill Stephen. As a matter of fact, my family thought that before there was ever any charges, like way before.
Dang.
Yeah.
I know you only have a few minutes. You name the night. I start my shows at 7:00 Central. Thanks again for hopping in, by the way. I start my shows 7:00 Central. So if there's any night, I don't care what night it is, where you can sit down and we can talk for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long you want to talk. I would love to really just listen to all of this stuff and just take notes and really just dig into all of this stuff, because
I would love to go into all the stuff surrounding the Brittany Drexel case, which is weird, all the stuff with the Madeline McCann case, which is weird, and all the stuff with a bunch of other like flubbings. Again, there was a daughter and a mother in 1987 and 1988 that disappeared 11 months apart from each other, never been seen again. Never were seen again until March 31st, 2000. They got a call to tell them where to find the bodies, and guess where they found the bodies? Or guess what? They did not find anything. Sorry, that's where they were told. They get an anonymous tip that's where to find the bodies of Annette and Karina, the daughter and the mother that disappeared. That same spot was where they found Brittany Drexel's body.
Whoa.
So yes, and a pair of sunglasses that went missing. Like there's a lot of weird stuff here in South Carolina going on with our plantations. I'm just saying.
Holy crap! So what's your opinion on the whole Stephen Smith?
I think that he killed him. Everyone in my family said that way before. Like people were talking about this at 2 Christmases ago.
What do you think took place? How do you think it happened?
I think that he was having some sort of gay relationship with his son.
And he was about to come out.
Yeah,
with it?
I mean that's why he rejected his son, right?
He was about to come out with it.
Everyone knew that his son was gay. Like everybody knew that. Like
Really?
it was. Yes, I mean, like he was what you call eccentric. You know, here in the South, we're polite, but not that polite. But we don't say things like, "Oh, well, nobody cares." Honestly, nobody really cares what you do. They're just like, "Oh yeah, you know, he's a little light in his loafers," you know, like something like that. Just so like to let the dudes know, like if he hits on you, sorry, he's a good dude. Basically, is what that means. And yeah, everybody knew. Everybody knew. I mean, so I think that's why the father rejected him. I think that's why they had that whole thing. Alex has been a criminal since like grade school, according to my mama's family.
So how do you think? It's obvious it wasn't a hit and run, but in your opinion, how do you think the crime took place?
I think that Alex Murdaugh murdered him because he thought he was having a relationship with his son that was gay.
No, I mean, like, do you with the
Oh yeah,
injuries
see that is to be told. I'm waiting for the autopsy, the second autopsy the family just paid to have happen.
yeah.
I'm waiting for that to come out, and then I'm going to make my opinion based on that. Because again, there's a lot of speculation, but until we get like hardcore facts in front of us, I want to see the autopsy. When I can see the autopsy, then I can tell you, and like all the notifications like about this is here, this is there, there's glass found here. I'm going to wait for what the coroner and the autopsy report says, and then I'm going to examine it, and then I'll give you my opinion.
Yeah, the real report, not some
Exactly.
doctor
You
that-
gotta wait sometimes. It sucks,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I would rather wait than speculate.
And congrats to them on the GoFundMe for raising
Yeah.
$50,000 now.
Shannon McConaughey, her family also has a whole Facebook thing where they're trying to get her body exhumed as well to prove that Sean Taylor killed her. The father of Deshaun Taylor, Timothy Deshaun Taylor, who was the original suspect in the Brittany Drexel murder. So Shannon McConaughey's family is trying. They've got a Facebook. Please go donate to it. They want to exhume her body as well to make sure that just because they found the person that killed Brittany Drexel doesn't mean that the person who actually killed their daughter could get away with it again. So
Yeah, do me a favor. Send me the names, then I can have some stuff ready whenever we do sit down and talk. We can
Absolutely.
have stuff in the background. Also, whatever links that you want me to share, I'm already going to put your links in the description and stuff. But if
Thank you.
there's any
The
other
Smoking
links,
Gun Cafe is where I do the Allegedly show, and that's at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's on Saturdays, and at the end of the show, we take an open panel because we want it to be like coast to coast.
okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Send me all the links you want me to check out or promote or anything, and I'll
Absolutely.
definitely do that for sure.
I do a lot of Twitter Spaces as well. I don't know if you've gotten in the Twitter Space world.
Yeah, I love them. I love Twitter Spaces.
Oh, it's sweet. Yeah. On Sunday nights, I do a comedy show at, I think it's 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called Who's This, What's That? And it's wrong answers only. And it's really inappropriate. So it's fun.
Hey, we're 18 plus here. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely
Right.
enjoy that content. Thank you so much. I appreciate you hopping in and just throwing some knowledge around. Like,
Hey, I
I'm
support
definitely
independent
interested.
channels.
Yeah, I thank you so much. Really, it means a lot to me. For real.
Thanks for having me. I'll follow you back on Twitter and I'll send you some stuff. I got to go to sound check for my own show. Thank you for having me. We're going to set up. We're going to do a thing. Trust me. We got 3 hours you can spare.
Let's do it. I got. Hey, it's a talk show and I got plenty of time. Let's do it. You let me know and we're down.
Absolutely. I'll follow you back on Twitter. Thank you so much.
I
Have a great
appreciate
night,
it.
everybody.
Have a good night. Thank you so much.
Bye.
What a beautiful soul. Thank you.
I don't know how to leave.
Oh, here I can. Here you go. Thank you so much. What a beautiful soul. And I appreciate you dropping all the knowledge. Definitely stuff I need to check out. It's like I said when we were checking into this stuff. I'm like, this can't be the only one that is fishy. This can't be the only one. Especially when all of this stuff has been going back since granddaddy. What's up, Kid
That was
Kid?
very interesting.
Was it not? Was
Yes. Like Pam said, I'm going to need a bigger notebook.
it not? I know. I need to get something back here where I have a shelf of just notebooks of each case and
Yeah.
you know, have binders where I have like the case binder. And so when we're talking about a topic in the beginning of my show, I just need to lean over, pick that binder
Grab a
out, and then,
binder.
you know,
Yep.
just get different binders. I need a shelf up there with different case binders. Definitely follow her on Twitter. Thank you so much. And any other links that she wants me to share, promote, I'm definitely going to go ahead and put them in this description of this episode whenever I do get them, either at the end of the show or later on. So definitely go ahead and give her a follow. Definitely interested to hear everything she has to say and all these other cases that are connected to it. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So I really do want to dig into the pathologist and the coroner tomorrow. I wanted to get into some of the statements, some of the evidence, you know, back into some of that stuff. Then Monday and Tuesday, if there's not a night that she wants to get together by then, I'm gonna get into some of these other theories and you know, just kind of dig into them a little bit more. And then yeah, I can't wait. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I appreciate her comfort for hopping on.
I hate to cut this, but I'm going to head to sleep.
Well, thank you for hopping up, Kid Kitty. I appreciate you. I hope you have a restful and peaceful night.
Thank you. You also. Good night, chat. I'll talk to you later.
Good night. Thank you. Now go ahead and put out the link. If anybody else would like to hop up, you're more than welcome. Thank you, Kid Kitty. Thank you, Frantic Missy. Appreciate it. All right, so we are, when we're talking about the oh, whoops, YouTube's bugging here. One moment. So we were talking about the prison call, right? So I'm going to go ahead and play that for everybody. I do have it. Thank you for the link. I think it was Pam, but I apologize if it wasn't. Let me know if it was you. So I'm going to go ahead and share this real quick. We're going to go to the content creator, Crime to Sleep. We've played their videos a few times. I always appreciate their content. I'm going to go ahead and throw the link up in the chat. All right, and then we'll get, let me see here. Crime to Sleep. Sweet dreams, Kib Kitty. Thank you for hopping up. Appreciate it. What's up, Cherry Cherry? All right, let me see here. Crime to Sleep. And you're more than welcome to call or hop up if you'd like. Let me see here. Trying to update some banner stuff here while we got the show going. Sorry about that. There we go. Crime to Sleep. Just so I can make sure I can promote each promoter or creator that I'm using here. So this is the Stephen Smith 10-4. I'm going to go ahead and mute the music here while we listen to this phone call. That way we can hear exactly what's being said. And let me get the closed caption up there as well.
So Jim Marvin on there for just a second.
Yeah, it was something ABC 2020. I didn't watch it.
Well, was it a new interview or was it from that old interview?
I would assume if it had him on TV, it had to be the old one. He has not gone on TV since.
He hasn't. 10-4. All right. Well, I mean, was it the same old stuff with a bunch of innuendo and false stuff, or were they being?
Yeah, but I'd love to be able to give you some insight, but I didn't watch it and I didn't seek out anything, any transcripts from it. I don't know. I know.
It ain't no big deal.
I would assume it's the same old thing. Brooklyn told me some stuff that was on it, and it was stuff that's wrong. So I mean, it's just that same old.
Stephen Smith and Gloria and all that bullshit.
I think it probably had to touch on that. I think this one hit maybe a little bit more on the boat wreck.
I got you.
I just know that there was some stuff that Brooklyn said that was said in the little show, and it's just stuff that's not important, but it just shows that if they are willing to state that in fact, that they just don't know what they're saying, because it's just stuff that's not true.
I understand. So are they still trying to say out there like there's some mystery surrounding Gloria's death, about how she died?
Saying what now?
About how she died? Are they still trying to make some innuendo there?
About Gloria?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are they still anything about Stephen Smith, even though Andy Savage?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
there's
anybody.
No connection to us.
Yeah, I don't think anybody took the heart of
Did
Andy
Flair ever come out and
Savage.
say there's no connection?
No, they
Even
were
though they
never.
told Andy Savage that?
No, Sled has not released anything. They didn't even release a statement about what was this most recent thing. There was something came out not long ago talking about how there's been like a breakthrough in evidence to do with like the homicides, and Sled wouldn't even come out and issue a statement saying that there has been no further evidence like gathered.
10-4.
So personally, I would not count on Sled to help in any way.
I was just curious. All right, my man. You get some rest, and now, what time you get on the road tomorrow?
About 8 a.m.
All right, I'll give you a call sometime when I can. Buster, what's going on?
All right, we're going to go listen through that again. Now, remember, you have to remember this. They obviously knew they were being recorded. So they obviously, just keep that in mind. They obviously knew they were being recorded. I'm going to go ahead and play the music this time, just so there's no copyright issues. And then we're going to listen to it one more time. Now, it's interesting they know they're being recorded. But he does mention the boating. Oh, this is the boating accident. Shoot, I thought this was the one. Let me listen to it one more time. I just want to hear it.
Or something, ABC 2020, I didn't watch it.
Well, did it was it a new interview or was it from that old interview?
No, just
I
that
would
it talks
assume if
about
it had him on TV, it had to be the old one. He has not gone on TV since.
He hasn't. 10-4. 10-4. All right. Well, I mean, was it the same old stuff with a bunch of innuendo and false stuff, or were they being semi-truthful?
Yeah, but I'd love to be able to give you some insight, but I didn't watch it and I didn't seek out anything, any transcripts from it. I don't know. I know.
It ain't no big deal.
I would assume it's the same old thing. Brooklyn told me some stuff that was on it, and it was stuff that's wrong. So it's just that same old.
Stephen Smith and Gloria and all that bullshit.
I think it probably had to touch on that. I think this one hit maybe a little bit more on the boat wreck. I just know that there was some stuff that Brooklyn said that was said in the little show, and it's just stuff that's not important, but it just shows that if they are willing to state that in fact, that they just don't know what they're saying, because it's just stuff that's not true.
I understand. So are they still trying to say out there like there's some mystery surrounding Gloria's death, about how she died?
Saying what now?
About how she died? Are they still trying to make some innuendo there?
About Gloria?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are they still saying anything about Stephen Smith, even though Andy Savage?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody.
Connection to us?
Yeah, I don't think anybody took the
Did
heart of
Smith
Andy
ever come out and
Savage.
say there's no connection?
No, they
Even
were
though they
never.
told Andy Savage that?
Randy Savage?
No, Sled has not released
He means his brother.
anything. They didn't even release a statement about what was this most recent thing. There was something came out not long ago talking about how there's been like a breakthrough in evidence to do with like the homicide, and Sled wouldn't even come out and issue a statement saying that there has been no further evidence like gathered.
10-4.
10-4. So personally, I would not count on Sled to help in any way.
I was just curious. All right, my man. You get some rest, and now, what time you get on the road tomorrow?
He said, personally, I would not count on Sled.
About 8 a.m.
All right, I'll give you a call. I was just curious. All right, my man. You get some rest, and now, what time you get on the road tomorrow?
About 8 a.m.
All right, I'll give you a call sometime when I can. Buster, what's going on with COVID out there? It must be going crazy.
It's this new variant. It's
Omni COVID or whatever.
Omicron. It's
Omicron. That's it. On TV Friday, bus. I saw Jim Marvin on there for Justice.
Oh, crap. Here, we'll just go ahead and do that so it doesn't bug out. That's a good question. I think they do, don't they? But I can't answer that for sure. I don't know for sure. But I think they do, don't they? That's a good question, Pam. Kind of wondering that myself. Do they? Do they have similar DNA? I'm curious. Is there anybody that knows? So this is a News Nation interview. Whoa. Okay, we just watched that one. It was 12 days ago. Family's still hoping for answers. So that's what I have so far. Now we have the Inquisitor. That's a 23-minute video talking about the mysterious death. Now, we did find out some good information on that first video from True Crime. So I'm kind of looking at the clock. I'm wondering, you know what? This is just a deep dive into information tonight. So we might as well, we're collecting information. So if you guys are cool, I think I'm going to sit back and kind of commentate on this one too. See if we can find any other new information that maybe, or other new theories that maybe this person might discuss. We do check out their videos a lot. Have always. It's been one of the main ones. Ooh, look at that. They got an updated banner there now. That looks nice. The Inquisitor True Crime. So we'll just kind of chill back. Thanks for hanging out with me this evening. I always love exploring other people's thoughts and opinions. I love exploring your guys' thoughts and opinions in chat. The ones in panel. Thank you. Definitely going to be an interesting conversation coming up with Frantic Missy. That's going to be very interesting. A lot of information, a lot of knowledge was dropped. There's a lot of stuff to check out. I knew something was fishy. I could feel it. All right, we're going to check out this channel real quick. We're going to see what thoughts and opinions they have when it comes to this case. And if anybody would like to hop up, you're more than welcome. Just request a link in chat.
In July 2015, a Hampton County 19-year-old man's body was found on a road near Crockett'sville in South Carolina. The 19-year-old man's name was Stephen Nicholas Smith from Brunson in Hampton County, South Carolina. Stephen was a 2014 graduate of Wade Hampton High School. He was attending OC Tech of Orangeburg studying to become a registered nurse. In the early morning hours of July 8, 2015, Stephen Smith was found dead in the middle of a dark Hampton County road. He had a 7.25-inch gash on the right side of his forehead, as well as a partially dislocated right shoulder and cuts and bruises on his right hand. Stephen's car was located 2.7 miles away on the side of the road of the 601 highway from where his body was found, with the gas cap unscrewed. Stephen Smith was on his way home from a night class at Orangeburg Calhoun Technical College, where he was studying nursing, when his car apparently ran out of gas on Highway 601. Authorities believe he then began walking home along Sandy Run Road, a claim his family disputes. His mom said that Stephen never would have been walking in the middle of the roadway. Authorities initially believed Smith had suffered a gunshot wound to the head. South Carolina Highway Patrol officers stated that there was a possible gunshot wound to the victim's head, and that the death appeared to be a homicide. Stephen Smith's death was ruled a vehicular hit and run by Susan Aaron Presnell, a forensic pathologist at the Medical University of South Carolina. Dr. Aaron Presnell explained to SCHP investigator Todd Proctor that there was not a gunshot wound and no bullet or fragments were found during the X-ray, that it didn't look like a bullet wound in her opinion, and that since the body was found in the roadway, she could only theorize that it had to be a motor vehicle that caused the death. She stated that the only other injury was a partially dislocated right shoulder, and that no glass fragments or other evidence of a motor vehicle was found. When asked by investigator Proctor what she thought caused Stephen's head injury and made her rule it a motor vehicle accident, she told him that it was not her job to figure that out, it was his. Todd Proctor claimed there was no evidence that pointed towards the incident being a hit and run, or a vehicle even being involved in it. In June 2021, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division announced they were reopening the investigation into Stephen's death. In a statement, they said the decision to look into the death was based on information gathered during the murder investigation into the deaths of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh.
There is a murder mystery in South Carolina, the Low Country, involving two members of a prominent legal family. Police have not mentioned any clues or suspects publicly in the murders of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. The investigation into their deaths is prompting a new scrutiny on a cold case from 2015, however. And Fox News has an exclusive interview with a former state trooper involved in that case from 6 years ago. Griff Jenkins is on that story, Colleton County in South Carolina. Good morning, Griff.
Good morning, Bill. There have been no arrests and no persons of interest have been publicly named in the investigation into the brutal murder of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh, as they're referred to here locally in Colleton County. We went out to the property yesterday. It's a 1,700-acre hunting lodge the Murdaughs own. We tried to find out what has led investigators to reopen the 2015 cold case of the death of 19-year-old Stephen Smith. That case ruled a hit and run death, but we spoke to the lead investigator, former trooper Todd Proctor, and he says that in his recollections, it was anything but a hit and run. Listen. You said it pointed more to a murder and less of a hit and run.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I had been in law enforcement on the highway patrol for, 15 years. I've worked several collisions, hit and run collisions. Nothing about this case from the very beginning pointed towards it being a hit and run.
You stated then on record that you thought it pointed towards a murder. Why?
I mean, again, as any investigator, you go off of the evidence. There was no evidence that pointed towards this being a hit and run or a vehicle even being involved in it. It looked like it was more staged, like possibly the body had been placed in the roadway.
Proctor says, by the way, that the state law enforcement division, SLED as it's known here, leading the investigation into Paul and Maggie Murdaugh's death, that they have not contacted him yet. He's willing to talk to them anytime they're ready.
On the 7th of December 2015, investigator Corporal Michael E. Duncan received an anonymous tip claiming Dontario Aiken, along with another black male and a white male, a Murdaugh, are the ones involved in Stephen's death. An investigator reached out to Dontario Aiken, and Mr. Aiken advised he was working with a logging company during the week Stephen was murdered. Mr. Aiken also stated he has no knowledge on who had killed him, and he had learned about Stephen's death through Facebook. Dontario also claimed he was not friends with any Murdaugh family member on Facebook.
We have new details in the investigation into the death of a 19-year-old in Hampton County. It took place in 2015. While reports from Highway Patrol originally said they believed Stephen Smith's death death was caused by a hit-and-run car crash. Newly released documents from 2015 show they spent months investigating it as a homicide. SLED says they opened an investigation into the cold case last month after they found information relating to Smith's death while investigating the murders of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh. The mother and son were found shot to death in Colleton County last month. Adam Mintzer has the latest.
SLED has not said exactly what they found while investigating the Murdaugh's deaths that led them to open an investigation into Stephen Smith's death. But the Murdaugh family name comes up multiple times in the Smith case files. The investigation into Smith's death wasn't always a car crash case. Days after his body was found, investigators started to hear rumors that it wasn't an accident. That's according to documents and tapes obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request. In the recorded interviews with people who knew Smith, a couple of people told investigators that they heard a group of people spotted Smith along the road and then did something that led to his death. Despite numerous mentions of the Murdaugh name in multiple interviews, no member of the Murdaugh family has ever been officially implicated in Smith's death. But the stories were so persistent that investigators interviewed multiple people to find out where they were coming from.
I'm going to be honest with you. We're at a loss. Even the sheriff's department, I mean, everybody's, there's nothing. And this is one of the reasons why I don't feel like it's a hit and run. I've looked at the body itself. Just does not.
A spokesperson for Highway Patrols told me that this investigation went unsolved and was not closed, and they turned over everything they had over to the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. I also asked if a member of the Murdaugh family was interviewed in this investigation, and they declined to comment on that. I reached out to the Murdaugh's law firm for further comment. I haven't heard back at this time. In Columbia, I'm Adam Mintzer reporting.
Well, the case of Stephen Smith is getting looked at again. SLED has not released any additional information about what was found in their Murdaugh investigation that related it to the Smith case. We also aren't aware of any suspects or arrests made in the deaths of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh.
The Murdaugh family name has come up many times in Stephen's case since July 8, 2015. Stephen's father received a call from Randy Murdaugh on that day, advising him that he would take Stephen's case free of charge. The family was skeptical of Randy Murdaugh's offer and thought it was weird. Randy Murdaugh also made another call in regards to Stephen's case. Murdaugh called Darrell Williams and told him to call investigator Duncan regarding his stepson, Patrick Wilson. Wilson had claimed that Sean Connolly struck and killed Stephen Smith while he was drunk. Patrick Wilson and Sean Connolly had a criminal history together. Wilson was charged with first-degree assault and battery and attempted murder on April 17, 2015. According to the arrest warrants in the case, Wilson got into an argument with a man and fired a shot at the man's car that had 2 passengers inside. Connolly told police that Wilson grabbed his gun and shot at the sign after he argued with a man, resulting in the attempted murder charges against Wilson. Corey Fleming, a close friend of the Murdaugh family, represented Wilson in the case. In February 2018, Wilson's indictment was nollie prost, and the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office, where Alex Murdaugh worked as a part-time solicitor, decided to not prosecute and the charges were dropped. It's been speculated online that Darrell Williams said his stepson Patrick Wilson told him Sean Connolly hit Stephen Smith in a hit and run as a favor to the Murdaugh family and Corey Fleming, who got him off from the attempted murder charge incident which occurred on April 17, 2015.
All right, and that's one of the theories that we discussed on a previous video. This one's diving more into that. This is why I appreciate checking out all these other videos that people make, and I appreciate them allowing me to be able to not only watch them on the show, but to be able to share them with everybody too, because this is good information right here, and I appreciate this channel for doing that. Thank you so much.
The mother of Stephen Smith, Sandy Smith, has long maintained powerful people were involved in her son's death, and the Murdaugh family in particular was referenced repeatedly during the early stages of the initial inquiry. Sandy Smith had has reiterated several times that her opinion is her son was killed for being gay by several local Hampton County youths from prestigious families.
We are continuing to follow the newly reopened case into the 2015 death of a Hampton County teenager. SLED announced Tuesday they're investigating Stephen Smith's death after information was found during the investigation into the double homicide of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh. According to the South Carolina Department of Public Safety, Stephen's body was found on Sandy Run Road in Hampton County, which, according to his mother, was close to his home. At the time, authorities said he died after being hit by a car, but no suspect was ever found. The incident report says Smith was found with blunt force trauma to the head with no evidence of being hit by a vehicle.
It's been 6 years since he died. Does it feel like 6 years to you?
No. It feels like yesterday. It's just every day, you know, I have to relive it.
Today, ABC News 4 was the only TV station to sit down with Stephen Smith's family. Our Tara Jabor spoke with both his mother and his twin sister. Tara, what did they tell you today?
Dean, Stephen's mother, Sandra, told me agents visited her home yesterday afternoon. They told her that SLED was reopening her son's case in connection with the double homicide of the Murdaugh family earlier this month. Smith is now with SLED Midlands and out of the hands of SLED Low Country. It's something she's fighting for years, to find her son's killer.
I was ecstatic, very ecstatic. Been waiting on this for 6 years. Well, it's not going to bring Stephen back, but I will have a peace of mind to know whoever did this is going to pay.
Stephen was 19 years old when he died. Sandra says Stephen was her heart, a mama's boy. His twin, Stephanie, told us their relationship was like any typical siblings, chaotic, fun, loving. She says Stephen was flamboyant in the limelight of every situation. Stephanie now has a daughter, and she says that her child is everything Stephen wanted. So sometimes it's hard for her to look at her kid without thinking of her twin. Coming up at 6, hear from Sandra about how her son was tied to the Murdaugh family. She tells us she has no idea her son even knew the family until after he died. Working for you, Tara Jabor, ABC News 4.
When Stephen Smith's investigation...
And that's a bunch of BS, because you already heard the mom say that Alec and Randy were already at the scene ASAP. What's creepy as fuck is Randy not only contacted the father, but contacted the mom after the mom drove by the scene, and he's like, "Hey, was that you that drove by?" And she was like, yeah. "Oh, I'm sorry. Too bad we couldn't have met in person." This video is from 16 hours ago. I do not know when the interview was taking place. Isn't that crazy? Thank you, Pam. I appreciate this deep dive, everybody. Thank you to Kib Kitty and Frantic Missy for hopping up tonight. We're going to finish this video. Then I have another News Nation video that discusses it, just a couple minute video after that. And then I'll go ahead and be ending the show for the evening. I'll be back on tomorrow night for sure. Depending on my research tomorrow will depend on if I'm doing a live tomorrow afternoon. But I might be dug into a lot more research than I thought I was gonna. So I'll definitely put out an early notification if I am gonna get on early in the afternoon. But there's a lot of information I'm gonna have to be looking up tomorrow. That's for sure. So thank you everybody for hanging out in the live or replay. And if you're not subscribed and you haven't hit like, please hit both of them. I appreciate it. And we'll be back tomorrow night for sure, digging into more of this Stephen Smith case. And I can't wait to sit down with Frantic Missy. That's a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, and I love knowledge.
Was reopened in 2021. South Carolina Law Enforcement Division trace evidence expert Michael Moskal sent a letter to J.D. James of SCHP regarding trace evidence results from clothing and items from Stephen Smith. The note stated automotive paint trace findings were found from debris collected from 2 items. Moskal told James that the PDQ database tells him that the paint could be from an industrial tool, dumpster, or signpost. Moskal notes that Toyota used this paint on its vehicles from 1982 to 1988. The chain of custody had appeared to be broken on the clothes when they were left alone at the funeral home in a bag. The paint chip findings were 1 mm in size, which is very small. It's possible the paint came from when his clothes were moved. Stephen's iPhone was also picked up by SCHP Michael Duncan in order to get the phone unlocked, and Stephen's mother told him she was the secondary fingerprint.
It's been more than 7 years since 19-year-old Stephen Smith was found lying dead on the side of the road in the Low Country. The SLED reopened the case into his death shortly after the murders of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh.
The agency says they're, quote, making progress and the case remains active and ongoing. Blair Sables in Hampton County with more.
Somebody out there knows something.
It's July 8th, 2015. A driver on his way to work calls 911 to report a body lying in the middle of the street on Sandy Run Road. The victim turns out to be 19.
And see, that shows, that's the map of the location there. So you can see where that pole was located. All right there. So it's got the pole right there. And yeah, in the report it says light pole, but it's an electric pole. You got the cornfield over here. You can see the edge of the roadway. You can see the dotted lines. You can see the position of the body according to the dotted lines, and then how that arm goes across the continuous line in the road and then over to the other side. Good night, Cherry. Okay, thank you, Pam. I appreciate it. Yeah, we definitely, we're going to be getting into this case deep again tomorrow night. And through the rest of the week, too. Monday and Tuesday night as well. But we'll be on a little bit early on Sunday nights. We get on at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. Just that way, a lot of people that do watch the show and they do hang out later on the weeknights, I kind of like to try and do a show a little bit earlier on a Sunday. That way everybody can be included a little more. The ones that do go to bed, just because of time zones and personal lives and things like that. So I do like to get on a little early Sunday. So I'll be on tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Central for some more of this case. And yeah, if you have any information, please send it to any of the links that you can see scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Twitter, Discord, Gmail. And if you need any of the links, please reach out in the comment section if you're on replay, or type in chat which one you'd like me to put the link to, and I'll go ahead and put it in there for you. Or you can go to the description of the video. It's in there as well.
The street on Sandy Run Road. The victim turns out to be 19-year-old Stephen Smith, a shy teen, but a funny and outgoing one to his inner circle. Smith was openly gay in the small rural South Carolina town he grew up in.
One of my favorite quotes that he had said to his mom was, "God doesn't make mistakes. I am who I am, and God did not make a mistake."
The blunt force trauma to his head appeared a possible gunshot wound to the first spot on the scene, but the coroner's office later.
And that was Suzanne Andrews. I want to thank her for being on our show earlier last week. We did a show with her on Monday where she hopped on, and I can't wait to have her out on the show again. We chatted a little bit today, so I'm sure we'll chat more throughout the next couple days. I know she's busy, and I would love to have her back on again just to talk more about this stuff. I appreciate it.
Rules his death a hit and run. He He also has injuries to his left arm and left hand. More than 7 years have passed since, and the mysterious details of his final hours have weighed on his mother, Sandy Smith, and the rest of the family.
It's draining.
Suzanne Andrews has become a close friend to them in their time of need. The family rejects the hit and run theory. South Carolina Highway Patrol's initial investigation finds no vehicle debris, skid marks, or injuries consistent with someone being struck by a vehicle. A heated discussion between Trooper Todd Proctor and pathologist Dr. Aaron Presnell reveals that the death was ruled this way because Smith was found in the road. Blue paint chips are found on Smith's clothes but cannot be traced to a specific make or model. And Smith's car was found about 3 miles away on Bamberg Highway. It won't start, but investigators find his side. The gas cap also unscrewed. His family reports he would have never left the car, calling him skittish. And his twin sister Stephanie also tells authorities that her brother had become very secretive about 2 weeks prior to the incident. Documents show investigators fielding tips about the Murdaugh family in the days and months following his death. The first tip comes in early August, suggesting swirling rumors of a relationship between Smith and Buster Murdaugh, Alec Murdaugh's eldest and now only surviving son. An investigator also fields a tip about another possible suspect, but that tipster tells them he passed along the information at the request of a well-known family patriarch, former solicitor Randy Murdaugh. Andrews says in the records she has the Murdaugh name is mentioned 40 times.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. There has to be something to it.
Eventually, the leads dried up and the case went cold. That was until the murders of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh in June of 2021. That same month, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division reopened Smith's case based on information they had gathered during that initial murder investigation. What that information is, though, still has yet to be revealed. SLED reports they have made progress in the last year and a half, but to this day, no suspects have been formally named in relation to Smith's death. No interviews with anyone from the Murdaugh family are ever noted in Highway Patrol's documents. Andrews believes the answers the family have been so desperate to learn are out there, and she's urging anyone who knows something to speak up now.
Put yourself in Sandy's shoes as a parent, that it being your child. Do the right thing and come forward.
According to SLED, the case is still active and ongoing.
As Blair Sable reporting, in the meantime, state investigators are asking anyone with information about Stephen Smith's death to please come forward.
SCHP stated that according to the chain of custody report, investigator Todd Proctor transferred a rape kit to another person at a location that says TR6A on August 11, 2015. The rape kit is never mentioned again. A relative of Stevens claimed he became very secretive about 2 weeks prior to the incident. She did not know anyone who had a problem with Stephen. They also said Stephen did talk about his boyfriend a lot. A man came forward who was interviewed by SCHP claiming they were Stephen's boyfriend and said he was harassed on the night of his death at Snyder's Crossroads on the way to Walterboro, South Carolina. He said Stephen was harassed in a big truck with big mud tires. Stephen's mom claimed she was skeptical of the man claiming to be Stephen's boyfriend. She said Stephen had been recently cutting school, which was unusual for him. Sandy mentioned that a man at Buy Low was giving Stephen trouble, but they eventually became friends. Speculation and rumors have swirled around the internet and in the media that Buster Murdaugh may have been in a secret relationship with Stephen. A boy named Brendan asked if Stephen and Buster ever had a relationship, and a friend of Stephen's was asked by SCHP Michael Duncan if either of them had a relationship, and they stated that they haven't heard of them being together before and it was just a rumor.
Yeah, we went into those with the theories and interview video when it comes to all those theories. And that's definitely one thing that I want to ask Frantic Missy. She's going to be on the show tomorrow, actually. I'm going to go ahead and set it up, more details I'll put out a notification early as we get the details. Me and her are discussing some things right now. So I think tomorrow night we'll actually be having her on the show. And that's one of the questions I kind of want to ask her about, because it's one of the topics that she brought up when she was in, about the whole Buster Murdaugh connection and how, the locals and such like that. So I think with her perspective, being from the area, being connected in a few degrees, I think that's going to be interesting. That too, Pam. That's something I definitely want to ask her tomorrow. So we'll be having her on the show tomorrow. I'll put out a notification at some point. And, if you're free tomorrow night for a few hours, please hop in. Definitely appreciate your support. But that's one thing I'm going to ask. And if there's any other questions that anybody else in chat or replay, if there's any other questions you would like me to ask pertaining to any of these cases that she was discussing, go ahead and send them to me on Twitter, EvilCJ, or evilcj@gmail.com. Or you can hit me up on Discord, EvilCJ number 2540. Just go ahead and send me the messages, and I'll go ahead and have a list of questions to pick her brain about. I'm excited. I can't wait to have her on tomorrow night. What a beautiful soul. And then we're going to go back to this video. That's a good question, Pam. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your help, Pam.
After Alex Murdaugh's trial came to an end, Stephen's mother Sandy raised money from a GoFundMe for an independent exhumation and autopsy.
This morning, new developments in other investigations, and the family of Stephen Smith pushing for a new autopsy after Alec Murdaugh was found guilty of murdering his wife and son.
Well, it's not going to bring Stephen back, but I will have a peace of mind to know whoever did this is going to pay.
During the double murder investigation of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh in 2021, state agents saying they found new evidence on another mysterious death. Police reopening the case in June 2021, looking at how 19-year-old Stephen Smith was killed. Authorities said he was the victim of a hit and run. His family always believing something else happened.
They said he was shot in the head. And then it turned out that was a hit and run, and then he was beat up. And so the story just kept changing over and over.
Smith's family now raising money to exhume his body in hopes of doing an independent autopsy to find out how he died. State investigators say they have made progress in the death investigation.
And it's up to 52,000 now. I'll go ahead and post it at the end of the show with what the new total is, because we did check it out earlier. And then I did also put a link to the theories and opinion theories and interview video that we have. A lot of information in that one too. Definitely gonna have to go over some of this stuff when we get into the research tomorrow morning. So if anybody would like to be a part of a research team with me, I'm starting to do some offline StreamYard shows where it's not live, but me and a research team can hang out, and I can screen share, go over articles, go over videos, go over different things where we can kind of hang out together and kind of do some research in the background. So let me know if you're interested. Go ahead and reach out to me for that as well.
Of Stephen Smith. However, this investigation remains active and ongoing. They have not named any suspects.
Stephen Smith's life was tragically cut short at the age of just 19 years old. With the investigation into his death moving forward, hopefully his family can finally find peace and Stephen can get justice.
Thank them for that video. I appreciate it. The Inquisitor. Great channel. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and go to this last video that we have for Stephen Smith. This was on News Nation about a half an hour ago. So we're going to check this out. We're going to go ahead and shut her down for the evening. Not sure if I'm going to start another stream and hang out and shoot some pool and just hang out and bullshit. But I'm definitely going to eat some good food because I am starving. And any of these other links that are on different topics and different cases, we'll get into. I appreciate you sending them to me. I definitely am probably keep Thursday and Fridays for the open topics, and then whatever I do get sent, we'll go ahead and cover those on those nights, and focus the Sunday night and the first couple nights of the week on all the homework that we've been doing. So I appreciate you guys' help, your links, your information, your conversation, your thoughts and opinions. And I really do appreciate it, because if it wasn't a team effort, we wouldn't be able to put these puzzle pieces together. So I do appreciate you.
Family known to the Murdochs is pushing for an independent autopsy after their son died nearly 8 years ago. The family of Stephen Smith announcing that his body is set to be exhumed after raising enough money through a GoFundMe page for that process and an independent autopsy. Smith's death back in 2015 was ruled then as a hit and run after he was found dead in the middle of the road, not far from the Murdochs' one of their properties. Authorities reopened the investigation in 2021 after uncovering information while investigating the deaths of Murdoch's wife and son. A recently released documentary on Netflix suggests that Smith and Murdoch's older son, Buster, were romantically involved, according to that documentary. Joining us now to talk about this, Jennifer Coffindaffer, retired FBI special agent, News Nation law and justice contributor. Jennifer, thanks for coming back.
You bet. Good evening.
Yep. So this Stephen Smith was 19. He was killed in what was described in 2015 as a hit and run. Obviously, one of the worst things for a parent is to see the death of their child. Then the Murdoch case in 2021 comes about, and now this family wants their child's body to be exhumed. And it's going to happen because of GoFundMe funds. I just looked at it, like $55,000 that have been raised. Walk us through this, because I'm guessing it's not normal for a body to be exhumed. How does this happen, and what could you potentially learn from it?
Well, it is unusual. And remember, SLED, who has reopened an investigation, they could also exhume it to help them in their work. However, this is going to be done independently as requested by the family. They want independent eyes to look at this. And forensic anthropologists can look at bodies this old, and depending on the embalming process, on the decomposition state, they're going to probably be able to make some determination as to what truly happened. We know that there was blunt trauma to the head, but it was unusual that there was no other trauma, at least reported. Shoes were on. There were just many things that made no sense. Again, only about 15 miles from Moselle.
The mother of Stephen Smith, when she posted the GoFundMe account, wrote the following. She said, quote, "We need new, unbiased look at his body and an accurate determination of his cause of death based on facts." She says there was no debris in the road and his injuries were not consistent with a hit and run. You're saying it's possible that when this body is exhumed, if it wasn't a hit and run, that maybe whoever takes a look at this could say, well, if it wasn't a hit and run, it was something else. Like, could they point to the exact cause?
Well, I don't know if they'll be able to point to the exact cause, but they'll be able to look at it and see if it truly was consistent with a hit and run, with being struck by a vehicle, as opposed to blunt force trauma to the head caused by something else, not a vehicle. Remember, this ME said that he was hit or struck by the rear view mirror, side view mirror of a vehicle. So that's going to be something that is very unique to make that allegation and very precise.
If there's something that's potentially there, what would come next from an investigation point of view?
Well, that report would be sent to SLED for them to look at it, to make a determination, and to see if, based on their independent investigation, remember they've just reopened this, and these results, if that would add up to possibly pointing the finger at some individual or individuals being responsible for his death, other than just a hit and run, which would be possibly seen as an accident.
I know it's so hard, Jennifer, to know, but if you had to take a guess, do you think this remains a cold case? Or do you think this is just the beginning of something much, much more down the line?
I think it's the beginning, and I'll tell you why. Initially, it was really just ruled a hit and run, case closed, buried, and shoved to the side. I think as SLED begins their investigation and starts their witness interviews, I think hopefully be more answers.
And we will stay on top of it and follow it. Jennifer Coffindaffer, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation, your television provider. And don't forget to click the red
And I always appreciate them letting me know that. Wrong mileage to Moselle. All right, let me go back to that real quick. So is this the wrong address? Or was that something that they were stating in the video? Because it looked like, see, I got this route here, but it looked like a different route they were showing on that video. I don't know. So I do want to throw up that fundraiser. Let's see what the newest total is. Let's hit the refresh. I'll go ahead and put the link in chat if you'd like to donate. It's up to, let me see, 57,676 for an independent, because it needs to be independent. Don't need no foolery. We saw what the independent investigation did for the East Palestine community. They're actually getting some real answers. So you know an independent investigation brings nothing but the truth. Also, since we're on this topic, I do want to share this as well. Suzanne Andrews created the hate crime bill. She went ahead and went in front of the House, got it passed again. There's the link to that. I forgot, I always got to cut off the beginning of this for the full length on YouTube. There we go. There's the correct link. If you want to sign that as well, anybody from any state can sign it. And if you're located in South Carolina, please contact, again, your local senators and let them know how important this bill is for you. It's not a specific gender, sex, race, anything kind of bill. It's a hate crime bill. And them and Wyoming are the only two states that don't have it. So they need to be updated on the times as well. So let your local senator know how important it is, because it keeps passing through the House. It's just getting roadblocked in the Senate. No reason for it. None at all. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. We'll get into more of this tomorrow night. We're going to have Frantic Missy on. I appreciate her comfort hopping up on panel tonight and sharing her thoughts and opinions. And I'm excited to learn more because I love knowledge. And I know everybody does here too. It's so much fun. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow.